beep. Beep, 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 beep. Beep, 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 beep. Beep, beep. Beep, 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 beep. Beep, 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 beep. I feel it. Beep, 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 beep. Hold on, I'm fixing my unholy mess. What's up? I didn't eat 3/4 of that Crunch Bar already. I didn't have a craving for. I didn't eat 3/4 of the Crunch Bar already. I'm not craving chocolate like crazy. I haven't had a sweet tooth that's out of control for the last week. Oh no! Are you done with these? Oh, I'm gonna put those over here. I love you too.
Yeah.
What? Trash? I love trash. All right. I should be working. Why isn't it up on my thingy? What if I hit it again? Does that fix it? I'm alive. Okay, good. 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 Blue sky. Post. And then Blue Sky feeds me naked lady. We'll just put her straight in the horny jail. I think people will like that. That looks like a horny jail thing. Yep. I could see that appealing to approximately everyone in there. Interesting. Okay. Posted. Now I just need people to appear. People. Introducing clip timeline. Clips that you create now have an edit timeline of 90 seconds to catch the right moment. Okay. Fun. Fun for everyone. Oh, 2 people. Hello. Oh. Huh? Meow. Hello, kitty cat. Have you come to watch the stream? Or have you come to meow and bite my feet? I have my suspicions. You can prove whatever. This has to go over here. I have to actually probably not have my computer at max volume would be smart. That'd be a very good start. Hi, Lizzie. I need to open the correct game in the background and probably go into studio mode and make sure I'm not breaking anything. Right, game. Oh no, it is the right game. Sick. Everything is Gucci. I've done it. You know what I haven't done? Plugged in my controller. Oops. I have been playing. What have I been playing? It was Labyrinth of Refrain that does not cooperate properly with a controller when I'm using keyboard and mouse. Mind you, there it is. Kind of a mess going on here. What else is new? Okay. Sorry it's so late. I got lonely up. I'm showered. I've sort of eaten. And watched Solar for a bit. That is still way too loud. You guys should have audio distinct of what I'm doing. Yes. Cool. What, buddy? Why did you not bother me until the second I started? Why are you like this? Why are you like this? You don't care until I'm like, all right, now to do the thing I want to do. And you're like, no, I'm the thing you want to do. And I'm like, no, you're not. Can you get up to your mommy? Were you ousted by popcorn or did you just get down? That doesn't answer me. You gotta.
He was ousted.
He was ousted?
He was ousted.
He was ousted. Okay. Let me help your cat restore his integrity as a beloved fixture of your bed. Come here, bud. I know. Oh, come here. I can't help you when you're old man. Okay. You want me to clap for you? You want applause for being so delightfully round and flat at the same time. Like one of those fish. I don't remember what they're called. The flat fish. Remember what they're called, baby?
Flounder?
Flounder sounds about right. You just want attention for your flounder impression. Does that make mommy your Ariel? Yeah. Okay. I am trying to get moving here, my little man. Goodness. Oh. How's everyone doing? Go put him to bed, you say. Black cat, 7 streak. Busy. Too powerful. Lucky number. Mommy says I should put you to bed. Should I put you to bed? Well, you are all twitchy. Okay. You're irritable. I'm going to put him to bed. Okay, got it. Let's go to bed. That's not bed, Milo. Milo James. That is not bed. That is under the table. That is a naughty wolf. Misaligned tile. Trying to mojo jojo with something. It's way too many. Hey, where you at? Go bed. Go bed. Mother's instructions. Go to bed. No. I just wanted attention. Uber, want to get bit? Find a sweater, baby. This one okay? Okay.
It fell off.
Oh, gotcha. I gotcha. What? You need your ice cream. This is a physical requirement for you. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Drop one. Got cookies everywhere. Oh, I won't wait for people to show up. I'm gonna go take the bathroom real quick. Why not? Say hi to the chat. I think it's just Lizzie and.
Hi, cat.
Yeah. Here. Told my brother I was streaming the day. Streaming Star Ocean. He was like, streaming Star Ocean. What, is it on Netflix or something now? I'm like, no, what? No. Now I can't stop thinking about how bad that would be. Streamed Star Ocean. The stories are They're fine. They're not the strong point. That's for sure. This is no Final Fantasy VII, is it? All right. Who we got lurking? Who we got lurking? I have never quite figured out how to tell. Oh, users in chat. Hey, look at that. I'm one of them. That'll do it. All right. Well, I guess everyone will have to catch my amazing intro on rerun then. That's fine. Fine, I'll just cry about it. I only worked really hard to make it and thought it would be really fun. So all right, let me get to a point where this isn't going to be... Oh, no. Okay, my controller is not responding yet, so that's some fun troubleshooting we get to do real quick. How's that? Is that functional? We good? Yeah, okay. Good. Good. Well, time for the recap. Time to reflect on our sins. Yeah, it was really depressing. I mean, there's something about a crazy lady who went insane and thought my son miscarried or whatever, so I'm gonna fucking go nuts and destroy all of America's enemies. Sure, man. That's the motivation that leads to that. How we doing? Okay. You know, we got Miracle. Miracle's good. We traded a cat for a cat, I guess. Is one way of looking at it, if you suck. So, there we go. We're golden. Yeah. So, we're once again at a point where I'm like, do we have freedom? Or, wait, I saw that. Oh my God. Okay, I'm officially checking something. Hold on. That transition was horrible. Star Ocean, yeah. My computer's just cranky. I don't know why it's so cranky the last couple days. I just saw something though. I just saw this. Yo! I was able to put a thing. How many things do we got? Yo! Yo! Look at all that. Thornberries. Oh. I can get syrup. I can get gambleberries, the things I needed and was hunting for, and I can just buy them. Okay. Hot chocolate. Red herb. This isn't even a bad little store. Here's pumpkin. What is pumpkin status? We got frozen. We got silence. We got fog. We got pumpkin. And curse. Excuse me? Alright. Dang. Okay. I don't have anything else. Is we at any S size? Is S size? Can I just walk on these? Yes, the sweet view of spice. What's this one? Is this another M? I don't remember being able to do anything like that. Can I do stuff in the bedrooms? Is that the other place? Is there stuff in here? Where do I put objects? Oh, I have objects. I love doing stupid bullshit. This is where Edge is going to go to cry. This has never been anything to my knowledge. Maybe eventually it will be. Or maybe we've missed something. Frankly, that's incredibly possible. I'm going to sneeze. Go up. Okay, so what about in here? There's nothing, right? This is just the stupid yeah. So can I put something, because I found M and L. Where do S go? Do S go in here? S do go in here. I don't have any though. But I can go on computer. Alright, whatever. Okay. We've learned something today. And I got a funny pad. Jersey or whatever, I don't know. Sick. Who doesn't love that? You saved everyone in this ship. Ignore the billions of dead bodies. Alright, so what happens if I go over here? We cannot warp. We're going to Roic.
I've entered the coordinates for our course to Roic.
We're officially halfway through
Mr.
this thing,
Edge,
at least.
We can leave on your order.
I have popcorn.
Mr. Edge?
Calnus, departing for Roic. Engage, please.
Right.
Whee! Define nearby in terms of base.
How's it going, folks? Welch Vineyard at your
Wait, like the
service.
grapes?
Who the heck?
Hi there, Welchie. You're all 2D today.
Haha, the child called you flat.
Looking cute as always. Oh? What's this? I turn around for a minute and now you've got a cat? And not just any cat, apparently. I mean, look at those ears. Yeah, I feel like I just walked into an anime convention.
Wait, you still have anime conventions, but you don't have fetishes or maids?
What the heck is she talking about? This is just how Welchie is, Kay.
Welch, right? You got that right, sister. So how have you all been? I've been trying to get through to you guys forever. You couldn't get through to us? Yeah. Where'd you all run off to anyway? Huh? Wait a second. Don't tell me. Are you and Edge getting all cozy with each other behind my back?
That was a squeak.
Now. You two should know better than to keep secrets from Auntie Welch. Come on, spill the beans. I want every juicy detail.
Tell me how you fuck in front of everybody.
The whole childhood friend thing. Huh? Wait. Don't tell me.
Sorry, Welch. We're kind of busy right now. Talk to you later. If Welch contacted us, that means...
Yes. Bacchus's hypothesis was correct. It would seem we were in a different dimension after all.
Your homeworld has not been destroyed. In this universe, your Earth still exists.
Oh, that other one, though.
Did you hear that, Edge? Earth is... our Earth. It's safe.
Wow, good for
Is that
it.
supposed to make me feel better?
What?
It doesn't change the fact that the other Earth was destroyed. It doesn't change the fact that I destroyed it.
Edge.
Technically, the crazy lady did, but sure, man.
Billions of people have died, but you're all happy because we're safe? That makes us no better than the Cardionon.
They were very America
That
coded,
was-
to be fair.
Look, it couldn't have been helped.
If only I hadn't handed over the exilithium crystal.
Yes, we've been over
How
this.
can you continue to go on like this?
Stop it, both of you. I know how you feel. My immaturity once caused me to lose much while I was attempting to fulfill my duty as Amorphous. I have experienced much agony and regret, and yet I have never found a complete answer. But I live with the belief that one day I will find that answer.
In space.
Mr. Edge. You may have much worry and regret, but keep moving forward nonetheless. If you let it hold you back, you will simply molder away.
Actually, more stars are falling off. I like
Ship! We're under
down a
attack!
socket.
Attack? But why would anybody...
Forgive me, Miss Rainey. I'm afraid to say I was somewhat careless.
Putting it up now!
Hold on. We're under attack from Red Blorbo.
Vase, can you check their ship's registry?
They're not registered. It's not from Earth or from Eldar.
The
I'm detecting
only
a
two
strong energy
possibilities.
burst. We can't dodge it.
I think this might be the only space fight in the entire
What's
game.
that?
Enjoy.
That ship. It's from the 13th Independent Armored Division. An Eldarian vessel.
You're those civilians from back on Eos, aren't you?
Hey,
You guys suck.
you have our thanks for rescuing us.
I'm only chasing my prey. If you get in the way, I'll shoot you down too.
I'm very charming.
Stay out of this if you value your lives, amateurs.
I wouldn't take it personally. The 13th Independent Armored Division aren't exactly known for their kindness.
They're known for their bishy
But
haircuts.
still, what do you think that black ship was?
That I cannot say, but
Black
I
and
can
red.
say what we must do next. Damage may be light, but nevertheless we have sustained an attack. We must check the ship and perform maintenance.
I suppose that gives us another reason to land on Roke. Are we able to navigate?
The attack produced a slight alteration in our course, but it should be easy enough to correct.
Please take care of it. Very well. Let us continue toward planet Roke.
You all get to play tonight? Nah. Looking good, Roic. What the fuck happened to you? Here's the setting of almost every game in the franchise. Orange!
Preparations for landing on Roke complete. Your orders, Captain. Edge, your orders.
Just don't blow it up.
I judge the captain to be unfit for command, and hereby exercise my rights as second-ranking officer. Henceforth, I assume command of the Calnus as acting captain. Are there any objections?
I don't object, but... do we really have to land on Roke?
Our reasons for landing are all valid. Bacchus, if you will.
Our new exilithium crystal is putting too much stress on the ship's generators.
That's it.
It will take no small amount of time to recalculate our energy conversion matrix.
Math.
Upon landing, we must put the ship's systems into sleep mode to complete the recalculation as quickly as possible.
And don't forget checking the ship and performing maintenance duties.
And above all, our original SRF mission takes utmost precedence. Investigating habitable planets is the reason we began our journey in the first place.
Why, so we can blow them up too?
That is all. Begin the landing sequence.
I destroyed one world, and I'm gonna be a big baby and potentially destroy another one. Because Earth ain't doing great. Right, like, technically they need somewhere to go, though. This is the start of the timeline, and I thought Earthlings were still coming from Earth the whole time. Well, whatever. Whatever, we don't worry about that. I do wonder what it'd be like to play these in chronological order. This would technically be the start of that. I believe. Kind of hard to get earlier than the species goes to space. Alright, I gotta put Katie's ice cream away. Give me 1 second. Meow. I love that when I stand up, it sounds like someone touched me inappropriately. That's a normal thing. Okay. Welcome to Rogue. The planet. My controller has decided it doesn't care again. We were in a cutscene for so long that it gave up. Alright. Come on. We have hidden the Calnus from sight. Edge doesn't want to interfere with anyone. This will not last. It's alright. I don't know how rating works either, so I can only judge so much. Alright, we have saved. We're officially past the point of no return as far as I know. I don't think there's anything to do on the ship at this point, but I will double check. Well, I mean, she's here. Come play with me, Edgy. When will you feel like playing? Want to play Lay Down and Die? Just yell at me. That's the game. The game is just yell at me. Alright, we're done yelling at me. Bye! Alright, cool. So she gets off to being yelled at. I don't want to think about that. My doggy wants to play with you too. Ooh. Well then. I trust in you, Edge. I'm sure. There's nothing else in here right now, but they are clearly in the ship doing stuff, so alright. Optional stuff could be present. It says no, but you never know. This stinking thing. Oh, we got Miracle now. We can see if she's good at anything. What's Miracle good at? Miracle! I forgot I did. Skills. I was on skills. Skill boost. Miracle. Crafting. She's good at it. Everything else. Yep. Get better at those, I guess. I don't know. He has room to grow. That's for sure. Alright, so if I do this... Yep, I figured.
Yay! Yay! Yay!
Is that just how you answer the phone every time?
Hey, Edgerino! Why are you so down in the dumps anyway?
Huh? Oh. Sorry.
I blowed up the world.
Hey, what kind of an attitude is that? You're the one who called me. Come on, man, you've got to loosen up. Forget about everything and just go with the flow like this. Go! Go, go!
Yeah.
Yay! Yay, yay!
You're right.
Sorry.
No! No, no, no! Wrong answer!
Slap him!
I'm the one who's going with the flow here. Me! Me! What the heck are you apologizing for?
Oh, I guess so. Sorry.
This reminds me of something.
Yeah. Look, I don't have any idea what happened to you, but you need to lighten up a bit.
Maybe.
Okay?
You might have reused that. I was hoping you'd say it again. It'd be very funny.
I'm getting tired of this. You're not gonna make anything nice with an attitude like that.
That's what matters. Making it. Making stuff.
SRF, fight on, SRF! You're the star of hope on which the future of planet Earth rests.
Yeah, that seemed on key. That was a good music cut, though. I appreciate that.
Look, eat a good meal. Get some good sleep. And get back to being good old Edge, alright?
Sorry, Welch.
Your grape juice just ain't sitting with me tonight.
Well then, what can I do you for today?
We got Miracle. She's good at crafting. Who's else good at crafting? Not you! 7. You're pretty good at crafting. You're alright at okay, you 3. You 3. Go over here. Yes! I love and hate this entire system.
Go, go!
Make me things. I like new treats. Shirt.
You can use this.
Poison relief unit.
I did it!
Okay.
Not half bad. Not too shabby. Not too shabby.
We're done! The men are useless on this one, I'm sorry. Do you have like a speed up button? No. It's just B to cancel. Alright. I've invented curry rice, me.
I did it, Kate.
Along with silver. Blueberry tarts, that was me.
I did it, Kate.
Okay then, lizard guard.
Not half
I'm
bad.
hungry, Kate.
Got it, yeah.
Wow, they have a lot. Sushi, but fermented. I invented steak
Huh?
and a Pixar film. That's all that word means.
Not bad. Huh?
A protective robe comes with the codpiece.
Huh?
I did it.
Wowzers, they're just going. Wait,
How's
nope, they're not done yet.
All right.
Lots of cards. I don't use cards much.
Not bad. Huh?
Lustrous robe. Ooh la la. Oh, they're done.
Well, this is what we made.
All right.
Are you satisfied with this, kids? That was a decent recipe, huh? That
Oh,
was a
we're gonna be
decent
here for a
recipe,
minute.
huh?
What's the fang flute for again? I think I needed it for a thing. Like a
Well,
side
this is what we
quest?
made. Well, this is what we made. Well, this is what we made.
I can make rice and curry.
Are you satisfied with
What
this?
matters?
kids? Are you satisfied with this, kids?
I like that I have the ingredients for most of the food. That's just tits armor. That is armor with tits. Hand spun thread. Sure. That's what it needs. Wow.
Neato. I mean,
This thing?
thank
Look
you.
at that. Ooh, that's a thing.
How much help you think this'll be?
Steak.
Well, this is what we made.
Look, another frickin' stupid bot. Get rid.
Well, you get an E for effort. Oh, this is pretty spectacular, don't you think?
Regeneration symbol. Expensive.
Are you satisfied with this, kids?
Robe. Scarf that looks like we applied some sort of noise on it.
Whoa! Not every day you see something like this.
It's a card, Welch. Have you ever played Pokemon? Is Pokemon still real? I feel like that would go on forever.
So awesome! Are you satisfied with this, kids?
See, that's kind of pretty. That's at least not boob armor.
Hello? Anyone out there got any good ideas?
No, not really.
Okay, Lillian.
Lillian?
How about Lillian? Regret.
What you want?
Regret. Might be right. I don't know.
Don't you dare cut any corners.
I've never looked up who her voice actress is or what else she does. She sounds extremely familiar in a lot of ways. Wow. Can't make shit in Detroit. Okay, but I can cook.
What you want?
Curry rice.
Best of luck now.
I forget if there's like an achievement for making one of everything, but I get the feeling there is, and they don't mark what you have and have not made. They just mark what was new this session.
Yes, completion.
So, good luck with that in the spreadsheet you'll be making.
I wonder if I'd be any good at this.
If you'd be any good at
Look what we
cooking?
made.
Oh. Okay. Ooh, smart food. Salmon makes you smart. I'm coming. I'm coming. You okay? Ouchie. Page work done. Now you're ouchie. They better love you or you're gonna cry. You heard that?
You realize that you could put a little bit of what's going on in each page on the commentary, but you never did.
Well, yeah, the page should speak for itself. Otherwise, you're failing as an artist usually. So if it's not discernible, then... well. I said she put a lot of work into the page. She's ouchie, and if people don't like it, she's gonna cry.
Figure it out soon. I don't have
Well.
one.
Wah. I'm gonna make ratatouille. I don't even know what ratatouille actually is. Apparently, it's vegetables and olive oil.
Think you can handle that all by your lonesome? Great job.
She busted out the whole like page today. She kind of forgot it was Wednesday, I guess.
Don't you dare cut any corners.
Don't smack me with that stick. Get it away from me.
Made.
Fermented. What is fermented sushi? Why would you want to ferment sushi? You, sushi lady, tell me. Awesome.
Better not see any failure here. Look what we made.
Maybe. Elemental resistance +3 for 5 battles. Is that good? That's a single digit number. I don't know.
Soon. I don't have all day.
Is that a percent? Is that a... I don't know. Okay.
Already know
I don't think I have anything new I can do in here for now. We're punching way above our weight on a lot of this shit. Silver and gold. I mean, I can make a gold. Why not? Silver and
The
gold.
order, okay? Ta-da! Your item is complete.
That makes like all 3D animation more impressive to me immediately. Like if you look at her, the root bone on most 3D animation is the hips. And anytime you move the hips, you have to move everything else to match. It's not the feet, it's not the head, it's the hips. And the feet wouldn't make sense because there's two of them. So the hip is like the lowest point where it's singular on the average body. So it's the core of everything. And I have yet to figure out a way to animate that without wanting to kill myself. I know IK helps, but it's still like, it's a lot is what I'm saying. It's hard. That might be why almost everything in this is motion captured, like visibly. But dumb shit I have a weird appreciation for. Enjoy that. Enjoy that. Alright, oh, hey. Miracle's having a sob. Probably because her, Professor Guy died. Probably should have mentioned that. That was a weird fade. Why did it do that instead of just reposing her? Enemy space. I might get back home. I don't know where home is. Professor died and she owed him one and she's sad. Sorry I fucked it up, Miracle. My fault him and the planet exploded. Okay, you didn't get him killed though. This is where my problems really start. Okay, this turning point in the narrative, I get why Edge is upset. I really do. But Edge explicitly did not get Klaus killed. Klaus saw Miracle and Edge reaching out for him and went, Nah, I gotta go be with my crazy bitch wife who's blowing up the planet. So in our final moments, I can hold her and be like, our son didn't want this. I know, kablooey. That was his call. Edge didn't do it. Edge didn't do shit. And he's gonna do a lot of it. He's gonna be like, this was me. I did it. Everything was my fault. Like, what were you gonna do? Pick him up while he protest? He wanted to be with his crazy ex-wife during the... Not even wife, ex-wife. Who lost her mind after a miscarriage or whatever and blew up the planet. And I can't even say the miscarriage was the whole thing because she was talking about having the power to destroy all of America's enemies, like in the Red Scare sense. So, frankly, I think the miscarriage was only an excuse for her to get a little too attached to the bad machine, okay? I think she still had the motivation beforehand to be a bit of a monster. You get where I'm coming from. He's gonna do a lot of this. I remember this. I could end up looking like an asshole. This could end by the end of the session today, for all I know. But I remember this just going on for way too long. Edge just being a sad sack about this, and it drives me crazy.
He's already whining.
Yeah. It's not your fault you saved me. You tried to save Klaus. You're the only one I was able to save. Ooh woo. But what about everyone else? I was so damn arrogant. No, you were played. You're young and naive and you got played. You saved me. I'm sorry. Jesus Christ. Like, does this help me with anybody or they just hate me more? Are they all like, Jesus, this dude. Who else can we find? Hey, Raimi! Shut the fuck up and let me talk. So all you're gonna say is, sorry. Sorry, they're all dead. Sorry. Our planet is deteriorating. Thank you, Raimi. The entire human race is going to be wiped out if we don't do something. Thank you, Raimi. Yeah, it is Edge's fault the cat died. They should have jumped off the ship and grabbed the cat. Just reached out on a flyby. Yoink! Cat would make the fridge on the ship so much better. You know what happens to interact with the fridge on the ship? Nothing. You went into space to prevent the human race from being wiped out. That's why I'm so upset. I destroyed it. You want to destroy it twice, Edge? If we don't do it, all the hurdles we cross will be for nothing. Everyone will die. Wow. Earth was destroyed for nothing. If I hadn't been so stupid, it would still be there. Jesus Christ. See, I get why he's upset. You're really thick. Yes, he is. I get why he's upset, but also, the mission is to try and save their Earth. So, by being this utter sad sack, what is he accomplishing? He's gonna doom more people. Bacchus' turn. Is this room fucking cold? He looks so angry. No? Okay, groceries are coming. Edge, you're running cold. You've lost your fire, you sad little twink. Oh, we got kicked out. Alright, we've checked in with everybody. I don't think there's any cutscenes up here, but hey, fun little side of Edge being a whiny bitch. No one is stripped naked. I think we missed Raimi in the towel. Sorry. Why is that so upsetting? It's not because of Raimi. I just have fond memories of looking at that towel going, oh my god, that looks so fuzzy. I want one. So, which on the PS3 is, you know, that's kind of a feat. That's what it was. It just looks so fluffy. I want to know if it's as fluffy as I remember. Sure, Twitch might be like, you're a pervert, but like, fluffy. Fluffy, guys. Worst part is the fluffy towel's not even all that great coming out of the shower. Like, you want something absorbent more than anything. I have this save point in the ship and right outside of, but you know, same time, no one's ever mad at Butterfly. No one's ever mad about a fluffy towel. No one's ever like, oh fuck you, this towel's too fluffy. Look at that water rippling. Fish! Fish are real! Look at that. They actually put stuff in the water here. Those are big. Those are way down there. Wow, big fish. It says there's a thing up here. I want the thing. Oh. Harvest the thing. What we got? Lemon. Yes, I will disappear shortly for a moment to let the groceries in. Is there anything frozen in there, baby? Or is it must... Yes? Okay. I'll figure it out.
We can use this.
Cold stuff is the difference between I just bring them in and oops, I gotta put things away. That's fine. Won't take too long. But down here is a sad dead end with no purpose. That's strange. Oh, we can look at a... That's kind of a nice view, actually. Like, maybe that's why it's there. Like, someone was editing the level and put the camera here and was like, someone needs to see this beside me. That ain't bad. That ain't bad. I like that. Kind of reminds me of Xenoblade a little bit. Very pretty. Okay. See a box. I don't know how to get to the box. Oh, it's... Oh, I'm sorry. This is all the ship, apparently. Just under the big-ass fucking ship. Can I not go here? Oh, that's where the... You can see where its feet are. Right on. Alright. Fine. Now over here. Ooh, old school chest. Alright. Open. B to harvest, A to open. Rude. We got a recipe memo. We've learned to make something. Everything over here? Where's the way forward? Oh, over there. Okay. That. I don't even know what I was hitting there. With the back leg. Alright. Here we are. We are on Roke. Most of the game. Most of the franchise. Oh, battle music changed. Well, you're not very good at this. You know who's good at bees? Not you, apparently. Oh, my board had one thing on it. Fuck you! Bitch. Oh. Miracle kicked her in the face. It's fine. Miracle, you looking good? You doing okay? You, seem a little off. A little hulked out, maybe? You know, I'm sure it's nothing. Sake of argument. Oh yeah, I got this again. Sake of argument, let's just one of these is the right one. Here's poison aquaberries. Here we go. Honestly, looks like we should frickin' feed her a bit there too. Hungry kitty, meow, meow, meow. Okay. You have good news about Rogue for the uninitiated though, and it's that I'm going to be very happy here. Sure, ignore the guy that was right there while Edge continues not interfering in anything by destroying the animal. Fuck you! I love when she just kicks something into oblivion. Just bye! Fades out before it even lands. Like, no, that thing's dead. That's so dead. That's so dead. It's funny that the music here is so upbeat and happy when it's just like, the world is ending. Everyone died and it's all my fault. La 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 la. Oh boy, I get to go mining. I think I hear them at the door. Am I crazy?
Please step back.
Silver and gold. It truly is Christmas. Someone decided that had to be there. They're not wrong, just a tree. Yes, Merlin? Merlin? Hello. Can I help you? Can you go see your brother? The cat has told me I need to let him in to see his brother. I think the groceries are here. Okay. Go. Go see your brother. What's the yeah, baby? I'm on it. Pulled that big, bro. Here. You alright? Okay. Trying to rest? Okay. Not being a pest. They had a deal like free Africa. Thank you. Okay. Hold stuff away. Don't look like too much. Just a second. Boogity. Check and see everything I got need to worry about. Apples. And Yes. For golden. Alright.
For what?
Whipped cream's away. Idiot. Whipped cream, turkey, frozen stuff. Alright. I'll put away. Your Christmas dinner is ready. Good night. Did you raise just to ask me the question? What about the whipped cream? Making sure I don't forget your whipped cream. It's fine. Oops. Brush the mic, sorry. Kobold. Hot. What do we got? Kobold. It is a kobold. Much like that hair that they just said is metal. I don't think it... Well, that does look metal, actually. Missed. That's so good when you can do it. It's never on purpose, but it's so fun. Just bonk by. Wow, you get interrupted easy. Man, she's not good at hitting things. If I get the hang of her again, I'll be happy.
I'm so glad
But she was my favorite for the longest time. But she's also early on. She's a little shitty, probably at the moment. Whale. You're awful close to the shore. Is it a whale, or is it just like a hump meant to imply there's a whale that comes up and sprays one? I mean, it got me to stop and look. Dolphin, maybe? Something like that? Gonna do it again? Does it just drift away and be like, yeah, you saw that once. Wasn't that cool? Oh, there it goes. That's the sound that makes, I'm sure. Neat. It's the little things that make me happy. Little things that give your story life. There's just a tower. Don't worry about it. I'm sure it'll never be important. I think it's a lighthouse, actually. Yeah, something like that. Maybe it is never important. Not on the map. This is your home planet? Crap. Autonym. I used to be a simple medicine salesman, but as I journeyed by foot from town to town, I started wondering if there was something better I could be doing with my time. Now I'm a traveler. Drawing pictures is a side hobby and chasing after a brand new set of dreams. I tell this to every person that walks by. I thought I'd be a painter, but I want to dream big. I don't know, man. I'm still kind of enamored with the fish and sand and stuff because I'm an ocean hoe. Hey, did you know Ottercat is an ocean hoe? News to everyone, I'm sure. Boop. Blueberries. See how we're on the cat people planet? Just so everyone knows where I'm at as a person. Hooray. I get you to chase me towards this guy. Yeah. Perfect. Crap, come on! Share, you bitches! I don't like the edge. I love Miracle, but she's so slow that she can't hit anything half the time because she has the big wind up on everything. Her combos are great, but everyone knocks everything right out of her fucking space. You tried, honey. You've been ambushed. Oh, whoa.
Rising blade! Rising blade!
There.
Here I come!
You missed. Well, Raimi's helping.
I'm so glad everyone's safe. Level up!
This feels pretty good, Kate.
I think this slightly predates when they start giving alt outfits to every RPG character in every game as like DLC or whatever. Hi! They wanted to say hello. Don't like that for me. Nope. Wow! I was not near you! Okay. What? Yes, thank you. Target the right crab, please. There we go. I am desperately trying to get that to pop, like critical hit stuff and whatnot, but it ain't doing it for me. Miracle, I think you and Edge might be slightly incompatible. You keep knocking shit away from each other. And I could set her to stop.
Wonderful. I'm so
Well, I did set her to mind her own business. Whatever. We'll figure it out bit by bit. For now, everybody got punched a lot. So, that's fun. Alright. So that's the sandy area. South is a nice wad of grass, and we do like a nice wad of grass. Don't take that out of context. That sounds like a weed thing. Which, I mean, no problem with that, I guess. I'm in Oregon. It's allowed.
Here we go.
Caterpillar fungus. Very specifically, caterpillar fungus. Okay. Maybe that's a thing. I wouldn't know. Wow, is this just a big loop, or am I stupid? I wish I could pan the map. Really frustrating that I cannot pan the map. So I guess we gotta run way down here to see if this all connects up. I think it does. I think it's all one big loop. I'll be more interested in fixing my whole I'm clearly slightly underleveled for these guys situation when I can make a little snoozy poo for a reasonable price. I'm going all the way back to the ship at least. We'll see. I'll kill this crab though. He's not paying attention to me, so he's gonna die.
Now it's time to strike.
There we go. Get some of that recovery back on, that'll help. Doesn't take a lot. Just a little bit. It's weird that the water here just ripples like that, though, isn't it? Seems like that'd be harder to do, too. On a technical level, I know how to do a lot of that stuff, but I don't know how you do the ripple without... They wouldn't just do an animated texture. That'd be kind of insane, especially at the time. Memory limits and all that. Ow! Hey, what's doing that? You have my attention. Okay, minding the birds, they're terrifying. We're in trouble. Damn. Got a giant bird feather. Good old axe beaks. Axe and me, alright. Jeez. Alright, well, at least we get to use some of our shit, I guess. Sure, man. Oh. Hey, we should be using those way more often. Those are like permanent stat upgrades. Teeny bit of healing and it gives you a random stat upgrade seed when you're done.
Please step back.
Excuse me while I drill you. In the head. Okay, my phone just crashed again. Keeps doing that. Seems like a bad spot. Just gonna extra kill this guy, don't worry about it. See, how can I not like someone that does backflips every time she wins? Like, come on. Can't be mad at someone who backflips when they win. Hello. Moving. Good enough.
Wonderful. I'm so glad everyone's safe. Maybe now I can be of some help to everyone.
Hey, what's this thing? Oh. Wow, glad that's marked on the map, right? I've never, something give a shit? This is such a weird layout. Okay. Is that a one-way? No. Okay. This is, though. Wow. Definitely not putting the mine in mining. You in particular leave me alone. Oh my god. You guys are mean. Give me a bit. Oh dear. Oh dear. That's a lot of bees. What are you targeting? You're drunk. Down an evil little girl. Yo, this is bad. I'm getting my butt handed to me. Oh lord, okay. Maybe I should go back to the ship. We might need to grind a bit. I've been feeling it for a while, but this is unfortunate. Jeez. Oh my gosh, okay. Good thing we got a shop on board now, I guess. Fresh sage. Yeah. Enjoy the lurking. I'm getting my ass handed to me. Yikes, man. Okay, yeah, we're gonna have to make a detour for the ship and level a bit, I think, because we are very clearly not up to spec here. I didn't think I was slacking that bad, but game disagrees. Every little fight is putting me on the precipice here.
Please step back.
Alright. We started strong. I must be full of something. That's what everyone says. Inventory is full of basil. What does basil do? Here's paralysis. Can I drop one? Discard. Yes. Just the one is fine. It's enough to carry it. Get what I can out of this. We are more or less retreating right now.
What is this?
Vegetables. I'll take that. I will take her getting a new skill. I like Ripper Pounce. Oh, she doesn't get another one. Ooh, that sounds fun though. Alright, we are trying for the moment to avoid most of this for our own sake. I wish I could set someone else at the front. I don't think I can. I think you are always edge. Yeah, you're always edge. Can't be not edge. Bummer. Don't want to make the for anyone else. Oh, the ship is back a ways too. Okay. Looks like no fights over here, really. We're gonna have to start picking them, because we are leveling someone almost every fight all of a sudden. And that's usually not a good sign, is it? Ooh, I can test this. Okay, I can see if this actually heals everybody. No, it just removes ailments, I think. Okay. But up here we have the bed, and we can take a little snoozy poo. Little snoozy poo for Edge. Mr. Maverick. And for the next last episode recap for the next one is just a rapid fire montage of all the things I murdered. Jeez. Oh, yeah, save. May as well save. I am not looking forward to this part. This is gonna be rough. Now I want to point out, the save file says which continent we're on. That's the kind of scale that Rogue gets. This is the setting, again, for I think both of the first two games, most of the third, and a good chunk of this one. For now, we have no bonus board. We can't stay alive long enough to keep one. We're going to grind this up a little. We apparently need to. $900 XP isn't a lot. I don't know if that's the problem or if I just suck ass, actually. Whatever. What are you doing, Edge? No, that's cool. I was just trying to get a crit. We'll point out we are basically at the start of the second half of the game, so we can't leave. This is where we're at. You do what you got to do to move forward now, and that's fine. I mean, we can avoid a lot of fights, worst case, and just... I mean, surprise, I got them. He's raging. What's he hitting me? He's aiming at her, bitch. Alright, I mean, that didn't go too bad.
This feels pretty good, Kay.
Didn't go great. Didn't go too bad. We're getting there. We're an hour in already. Boy, howdy. Okay. Oh, how do I want to approach this? I haven't been north yet. Have I? It says I have. I came from north. I'm very smart. We're going to take the middle route. We're going to take the direct route. We're going to try to move ahead, I guess. Because I'm going to avoid the axe beaks for now, because they're brutal. I'll do kobolds, though. They're not too bad. Picking my fights for the moment. That works.
Wonderful.
Miracle's hurting, and she's burning her MP, but
Maybe now I can be of some help to everyone.
it's fine. It's fine. I need to buy some blueberries, but that's not a bad problem to have. Blueberries is kind of hard to get usually, so... Not hard to get. What am I saying? Easy to get. I'm usually overloaded with blueberries. There we go. The opposite of what came out of my mouth the first time. I do like this. It's simple, but it does its job. It looks pretty. I can't get a lot of this out of me these days. I'm sorry. I am, like, making things. I am trying to learn. But seeing how other games do it is interesting to me. Now, this situation seems like ass. Enjoy this. It's gonna dart right... Oh, cutscene. Bunny?
That?
I forgot that was a thing.
It's a big, huge rabbit?
It was so round and meaty. Didn't it look yummy?
And she's not wrong.
It must be easy for it to navigate these mountains. I'm envious. Don't you think so too, Edge?
Sorry, I was zoning out. What?
Let's get moving.
Rabby, wait up, Kay.
Hold on! I just want one teensy-weensy bite!
Edge?
Just zoning out.
What the?
She tripped on nothing. Definitely nothing. What else would be there?
Please step back.
Could be Bacchus. To be fair, we didn't see him. He was camouflaged. That wasn't framed like it was Bacchus, was it? Hey, I know this spot. We were up there. Now we're down here. Dog. And a bee. Bees are bad. 2 bees.
Here I come!
Is there a reason, Miracle? There doesn't seem to be a reliable way to make it target different things as far as I can tell, and that's so deeply aggravating. Did you whiff that? There's treasure down here, which means my greedy ass is going. Oh yeah, shadow draw distance, baby. A great limitation. Shadow computation is expensive. Looks good though. I think this is no, it's not. It's not actually just a little JPEG. That is three-dimensional, minimally so, but enough to pull it off, and clip into the camera. Yeah, a little waterfall, pretty. 90% just particle effects pulling that off, but still can't see the bottom of it for shit hardly. But it's there. But you can from other angles. You know, over here you can see it pretty well. There's a rainbow. Excuse you, I was busy. I'm admiring the artistry, you stupid slur for birds. I don't know. You call birds you don't like. You tweeny fuck. I'm meaty too. Legacy enemies from hell. Jesus Christ. Get off me. I do not like the axe beats, I don't think. I really don't like the axe beats. Just gonna go ahead and just... Rude creatures. Jeez. We're burning through some of our stuff here. Alright. But look, waterfall. Pretty rainbow. Rainbow a billboard? I think the rainbow is a billboard, actually. Alright. Nothing north. We're going south. We're avoiding that thing. That thing is the evil. That thing is the devil. I don't like it. It's mean to me. It makes me sad. We just transitioned areas. Okay. We've got man-eating trees successor, and we got a little bandit man. Somehow, when I tried to hit him, he hit me, so... Here we go, angry little men. Thieving scumbag. That's how you know you've got it good in life. And your official title is Thieving Scumbag. Didn't work. I don't want to die. He stops and prays with his stupid knife. Well, these dudes got a lot of Windblade shit. That's a problem. Why are you all beating up the little girl? What is wrong with you? Rude little bastards. Maybe you shouldn't have all molested the child then, if you didn't want to die. Tri-Emblem. Vile little things. Yeah, I was trying to lure it over. Whatever. Come to me, monster data. Hey, don't worry about it. I know what I'm doing. We're just gonna go ahead and we're gonna summon Doggy. I'm hard pressed to think of something that a tree would like less than a flaming murder nut. Well. This isn't working. They are just juggling for. Trying to distract them from beating her up at this point. Better at that. Kind of hard is just getting them in the right order so it actually acknowledges it.
We did it! Nicely done!
Well, we got that stuff. Oh, I don't know, man. Use those. Fine. Vicious little areas.
Please step back.
Struggling. These struggling dogs. Stuff directly below me. I'm once again being cautious about the fights I pick because we are once again having our resources somewhat tested. Platinum. Barrier spirit water. There's a grass over there that could help refill us. We're near a town. I can see that. That will be beneficial.
Here we go.
And anywhere to recover and Dendrobium. That's a name of a thing. And see, I like this quaint little bridge. I love stuff like this. I'm sure it's not that hard to model. It's just cubes that get stretched out, right? But it does its job. It looks nice. It makes me happy. Rustic, it's charming. I'll kill you. You guys aren't too bad. Fuck off with the fucking spinny blade doom machines. Hi. Love that cartwheel. Edge, how did... Remy. Nice. Someone tried to run and failed. Little cartwheels! Oh, I love it. Bam! Swah! He ran. He ran away.
I could have done this all by myself. Too easy.
I think it's about the point where the game wants me to start actually using food. It's kind of the impression I'm getting right now.
Here we go.
These battles are a little more demanding of resources. There's a lot more going on. We're leveling up off of harvesting. Like, yeah, I think we're supposed to be using food. That's okay. We're getting there. There's a random hut. Need a harvest date open. Bunny feed. Bunny feed. Don't worry about it. Can't really go in the hut. Oh, wait. No, we can't. It's just there to look at. Like, ooh la la, a hut, and the words bunny and feed.
Here we go.
Yum, 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 yum. Okay. Into town we go. Our first town in Rogue. Ooh. Well, can you not wander off for 3 seconds? Smack yourselves in the face, it'll make me happy.
What a strange manner of dress.
The townspeople seem to be ignoring them.
They don't have anything to do with us.
Thwack! Thwack! They're taking their sweet time. Can only make that joke for so long before it gets boring. Come on, guys. Step it up.
Stand upon this land and deliver us from the end times.
And Limmel's off.
You okay?
Her leg keeps stopping.
I'm fine.
Be careful.
No, she's not. Something is wrong.
I'd better stay sharp.
Oh yeah, nailing it, Raimi. On point. You seem super fine. Okay, bio break. Everyone, stretch. I don't know who's all still actually present. You know, get your hydrates and whatnot. Liz and Solar lurking. Okay. We'll be back in just a moment. Alrighty, here's hoping we can gear up. I think that'd be very beneficial to us if we could find some slightly better shit. Because we are demonstrably struggling. Okay, he's just a guard. So this is the entrance. We don't want to miss anything important here. What do you got for orders? Oops. That's fine. We can deliver this one. That helps us. Money and such. SP. What's he selling? Lacquer? Cool. That's very expensive. Wow. But we do... Thread could make that armor. I think that's what I was missing for the armor. That's not too bad. I'm gonna get 10 of that. Like some of this stuff I'm like straight up like, yeah, I know what to do with that. So, alright. That's something. Strangely dressed friends. These people are like oddly well detailed once you get in there, you know? There was a guard here at the cutscene. Okay. There's a guy. Oh. Well, aren't you helpful? Buy healing items? You know, I could use some. Hint. Restores everything for the party. I will take one. So much for gearing up is my feeling. But we're getting a lot of stuff for this shit. So, oak. Oh, silver amulet. We can do that one. Okay. Take the oak, we can take the silent. Yeah. Lots of stuff. Okay. This will help us with time. Hopefully. Yeah, you're just painting stuff. Okay. You don't even sell healing items except for the tents. Just the guard? Yeah, okay. My instinct is to shatter things that I'm not allowed to shatter. Cat. We like that there's cats on the cat planet. Very good. Rude? What are you surprised about? I'm a lesser Felpool, just like any other. Oh. He's just a dude. Everyone thinks I'm adorable. Well, okay then. People can just turn into frickin' cats. Now you know that about them. I'm Catherine, and I'm the gal who keeps things from falling apart. You can call me Kathy, sugar. I think this innkeeper wants me. 160 full a night. You interested? Yes. I need somewhere to sleep, Kathy. Need somewhere to recover while I earn more experience. Do you have any advice for earning experience, Kathy? Do you? You're like 900 years old, but hey, don't worry about it. MILF. That's fine. I can get into it. It will be okay. A lot of nothing up here. How about over here? I'm so glad that they filled out this entire upstairs area. I wonder what that's going to be for down the line. Yeah, I'll save. Saving is good for the soul. I could have just done it. I literally just did it, it says. But, you know, I'm a paranoid person. So, neater. La. Okay, now we go. See what else we can figure out over here. see. Up north was that big round building. I'm kind of wondering if that's the Colosseum. Oop, it is. Cool. Raimi's doing great.
What was that?
It sounded like someone said, ah! Was it a scream?
For a scream, I'd say it lacked a sense of urgency.
It's the worst singing you've ever heard.
Oh dear. Please stop. Somebody save me.
I've verified that the source of the voice is located up ahead. I'm detecting a number of life signs in its vicinity.
I knew it was a scream. Meow!
Edge!
I'm gonna stay out of everything
Regardless
until
of the
people
situation,
die.
We can't ignore a cry for help.
God, he sucks. Okay. But what if we make it worse? What if I continue to be the whiniest sad boy?
Somebody, please save
What's the angel lady?
What cowards.
Damn it all!
There you go, bud. Unnecessary jump.
I'm not supposed to be doing this. But... Damn it! Get out of here. I'm telling you to get lost! Just go!
I got a big sword, I swing it around. Be scared of me, meow meow. Got a meow to fit
Are
in.
you sure it was best to let them go? Should we not have at least turned them over to the authorities on this planet?
I mean, they might have been the authorities.
What
We
the
don't know.
hell am I doing? No contact. No interference. That's what I swore.
Yeah, it always works out great.
If someone asks for help, you help. That's just the way you are, Kay. So, why do you look like you want to cry, Edgy? You haven't
What is
done
wrong with
anything
the
bad.
stones? Why are they so warbly?
You know, if only Edge could think as simply as you, Limmel.
Are you making fun of me?
Yes.
Oh dear! Whatever am I doing? Me and my manners. I haven't even thanked you for rescuing me yet. My name is Sarah Durand. I appreciate your help.
Look at her fucking one hair strand just going on adventures.
They moved. Those are real wings.
Oh, chicken. So yummy.
Can we feed Miracle, please? She's off. She's going crazy.
No, I can assure you, I'm not chicken, nor am I yummy.
How would you know? How would you know if you're yummy or not? Have you tasted yourself? Do we routinely bite ourselves as a test?
I see. So you're all on a journey together. Well, I must say, I'm so fortunate you came to my aid.
I'm a high school theater
Please
student.
just stop.
Pardon?
I didn't have any intention of saving you. I didn't mean to get involved.
I just do that
But
sometimes.
the end result is that I was rescued, right? I really, truly must give you my
Ooh,
thanks.
some weirdly rendered well lips.
Oh?
Is there something on my face?
You're dying of leg cancer.
My. I've just remembered.
You remembered? What did you remember?
I'm a lesbian.
Yes. Raimi and Edge, did you say? I was just thinking that I'd seen your faces somewhere before. Then I remembered. It was at the Purgatorium.
The what?
Well now, this sounds interesting indeed.
Yes, the Purgatorium is located in the northwest of this continent. It's the most historic structure there is. Oh my! Are you a giant? What a large man you are!
She said with extreme interest.
Blast.
Good job. You
Good
did it, Bacchus.
heavens! The giant suddenly disappeared.
You're hallucinating
A little
giants.
slow on the uptake. Both of you.
So, what did you mean when you said you've seen us before?
The stone statues in the Purgatorium. They're statues of the Mua, you see. But they look very much like you.
Mwah.
Mua?
The mwah.
Some say the Mua are our ancestors. But now they're like ghosts. Nobody even knows if they exist anymore.
The mwah.
You can't tell the history of this land without mentioning the Mua.
The
There's
mwah.
even an entire continent named after them.
Named Moo.
Mua.
Ah.
Yes, I remember now. I believe it was the Cardionon who referred to Edge and Raimi as descendants of the Mua.
Yeah.
If the Mua and Earthlings are somehow connected, do you think Roke might be involved as well?
I see. Yes, that would seem to be a possibility. If that is the case, we may be able to get closer to the origins of both Earth and Roke.
Yes. Just thinking about it gets the blood racing.
To my penis.
Days, you kinda look like Edgy right now.
I am edging.
How about it? I think it'd be worth our while to investigate this Purgatorium. Edge? Raimi?
Sorry, we're having an emo time.
Yes, you're right. I suppose I'll have to face it eventually.
So, are you all planning to go to the Purgatorium? If so, I'd like to accompany you on your journey.
I'm a dedicated healer, and I heard you're getting your ass beat.
Won't you let me repay you by acting as your guide?
Oh? Are you gonna come with us, Sari? Yay!
If the chicken, I mean Sarah, is coming, then count me in too. Oh my, Lim seems very nice, but Mary, you're a tad scary.
Okay, place your bets. Should I make them
How
room
about it?
together?
It sure would be helpful to have a local to guide us.
Yes, that's definitely true.
Forget it! We can't travel with anyone from this planet. Absolutely not.
Subtle
Right
edge.
now, I may
They'll never
not
know
be
you're
in
alien
command,
now.
But that is one thing I will not allow.
Edge,
We don't intend to have any more contact with you people. So, if you're done here, please just go away.
Edge, don't you think you're being too hard on her?
No, I'm not hard. That's the problem.
Whatever our initial reasons, it is we who made first contact. And Sarah is clearly motivated only by kindness.
No, don't concern yourself with me. But
And
please,
motivations?
you allow me to be a busybody about one thing. If you don't ride a bunny, there's no way you can get to the Purgatorium.
A bunny?
Oh, I'll ride a
Are
bunny.
you serious?
Some nomads are camping outside the town right now. Why don't you go see them about the bunnies? Maybe they can help you.
The bunny.
Very
The
well.
bunny.
Take care of yourselves.
I'ma ride the bunny. Yeah, just being a shit.
let's go.
There's something about a bunny. No healer for me yet. Stuck with Limmel. And Edge can technically do it too, I guess. If he ever stops spamming all of his MP immediately on everything that moves. That fern stopped me? Alright. Anti-curse. Hey, I needed that for something. Not. I should fit through there. That makes me sad. Stuff up here. Well, we really went out of the way there, didn't we? Blackberries. And so that's the hotel over there. There's items and weapons. Weapons make me happy. This heat's making me real thirsty. Fruit crazy old man. How would you like to be known as the fruit crazy old man? Oh, well, this could be the place. You got it, kid. No, keep shut. Are you wearing a hat, or is something wrong with your head? There's a headband or something. Okay. Red herbs, mixed syrup. Yes, deliver immediately. Caesar salad. Nice. Again, if we get everything done, we get like 10% off the whole shop, and some of them that's more helpful than others. This has a lot of stuff we can use. Alright. Weapon. Upstairs is weapon? What a weird layout. Okay. Greetings, I say. Greetings to all, new and old. We've got every weapon under the sun. All of them? Accept orders. Always start there. Gold. Yes. Who is pinging me? Why are they pinging me? Why does my phone keep pinging? Is it important? Mobile game is mad I didn't log in today. I don't care. Oh, mother. Okay, runic metal we don't have. Venom sword, mithril, Nereid stone. What do we got? Blessed sword. Sucks. Demon slaying sword. Sylvance. Bastard sword. That is expensive. Holy crap. Torch bow. Icicle rapier. Flame wand. Wow. Wow, it's expensive, but it is literally the only upgrade we have. Okay. Not a bad trade. Wow. 95 more attack, and I lose 2 defense, so... Sure, man. Alright. Shadow what? Doll maker. You're on it, man. There's a bookshop back there. We kind of need that, but it's in the back, so we're going to get to it last. Yeah. We're in the cat planet. Hi, Spritzy. Look at this. Look at this girlfriend material. Absolute cutie. Totally would. She got stripes and everything. Hell yeah. You can't stop drooling? Neither can I. Different reasons. Alright, what do you... Thornberries. I can do that. Ripe berries. I can do that. Physical stimulant. I got exactly enough tasty mushrooms for you, girl. What do you got? You got blueberries? I need like 10 of these, please. Hot chocolate. Glow stick. So we'll stock up on that. But that said vile poop for a second. It was very much like, whoa, hey, I can buy plums here. Give me a bunch. We always need plums. I like how they're frozen in position, but the physics bones still work. I think dangling off her hair is blah, 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 blah. Well, that is her. I think that is her hair. She's a cutie too. They're all cuties. Oh my gosh, they're all cuties. Okay. That's just a whole different section of town for some reason. What's this about? I don't know. We'll go there later. Okay. What catches your eye today, homie? This is familiar. This place is familiar. I don't remember why it matters, but it's familiar. Oh, yeah, I forget cats can talk here. That seems like your problem, guys. Hey, you're all just on the same thing. It's in your box. Girl's gift box. Well, okay. And this opens out to the other area, doesn't it? Whatever. Please forgive me. So if we find a pendant on the coast, it's his. This goes into that shop we've already been in. Yeah, okay, there's lots of ways to go through there. Consider it. Ripe berries. Yo, girl, let me see your ripe berries. Can't ride boat. Boat out of service. No boat for you. Something charming about this era of outdoor stuff to me. It's so simultaneously flat and detailed. I don't know. You know what I mean? It's just, there's so much here. Yes, boat design. Highlight my message. Okay, boat denied, highlighted. I know what that button does now. Oh, we've got a special sign and everything like that. It's just hung a barrel up there. Alrighty then. There's a lot of town here. Man, my board. I don't want to be a guard. Mother had to insist. Yeah. Don't do that. Don't follow my advice. It's all jokes. Call me old, end of sentence. No, they wouldn't. Really? Really? I don't want anything from Jeff Bezos. I just, am so happy I get to look at his mansion. I don't like you, old man. Yeah, those are rendered. Maybe it's height maps or something. That's why they're acting weird and horribly. I'd want a lot of things, but not like, oh, I'm so jealous of all their money, but at least I get to look at their pretty, pretty house. You're pathetic. Jasmine, the queen of inventors. Oh, she's singing to herself and going, oh yeah. I can't see your face. I can't tell if you're a little girl or old as shit. I think you're old as shit. You look like a little girl. But that is an old as shit face. So I think you're old as shit. Hey, recipe memo. Alright. Going up here now. This is the mansion. This, I guess it wouldn't be good tender because it's fucking stone. Kind of makes it hard to burn. Oh, the inside's nice and flammable though. Look at that. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a pretty house. I like the approach to stained glass here, even if, you know, like, ugh. Whatever, let's rob them. Good start. Dang, that's some solid Monet. Oh, hello. You didn't see anything. What are you doing here? This is my mansion you're inside. Oh, she's mischievous woman. What a dull life I have, day after day with nothing to do. At least if I weren't alone. Ooh. Ooh, if only I could buy a nubile boy to spend his days with me. Then I would not be so lonely. Nor would I have to embrace any sort of morals. I do so hate morals. How many polygons do you think I could afford for my pillars? More than you. Like, get to the stairs. Over here. Are they fake? Are the stairs fake? Are they cut content? What? It's like a door to stairs. The stairs aren't real. The stairs are a lie. It probably explains why each one's the height of... I mean, they're pretty tall. Alright. Gosh, I'm so lonely. Only I had something to do with my boring, luxurious life. Could be a story beat, could be cut thing, could just be, oh, we made a mansion with no fucking purpose. Alright, we already talked to you. Hi, are you just hanging out and swaying? Yo, I can vibe with that. I can vibe with that. That's half the reason I like skirts right there. It's just fun. It's just fun. You just get to make a move. It's like, look at me go. You like that? Do you like that? Look what I can do. Like, it's awesome. It's so fun. Okay. You look concerned about something. I want your clothes. Oh, you can charge all my shit. Oh, but they all cost. How do I know how many charges I have at a glance? Is it like... Thunder Ring. You have... Oh, there we go. Earth Ring needs it. The expensive one. Jesus Christ. It costs $1.50. That's most of the money from the rich lady used right there. Hello? You are a fucking aesthetic. What the hell? Welcome. This shop is home to all my favorite handmade accessories. I make rings. Accept orders. Barrel, salamander stone, shade stone, stallion snaps. Alright. I'll get an earth armlet, I suppose. Jesus, maybe not. I don't know. Sacrificial ball. I mean, those are the two things I don't have. Ouch! My money. My money. Alright. Alright. Alright, that hurt my very soul, but that's because I'm a greedy miser. Hello. You are also a 10. No, I don't want con. Meow. I wanted to go fight. Hello. Cleaning the grounds. Has everyone died? I can't entwine it. It's entwined in ivy. I can't just burn the ivy with my burn stick of burning. That would be useful. No. No. the bookshop in the end because I'm broke and I'm hoping I'll find more money, but I also need to grind a bit, it seems, so. We'll make the money something. Well, that seems suspicious. These caves are infested, so they're off limits. Okay. 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 Just a big ol' earthquake. Alright. Ma'am? I think my eyes are adjusting. It's dark in here. Brother. Huh? Thought you were someone else. My brother hasn't been home in ages. My name is Fez, by the way. I went for a walk and didn't return for 3 months. I'm staring at the ocean. You see the bastard? Could you give him the... Okay, note from Fez. Missing brother. It smells sweet. Don't worry about that. It's nothing. Ah. Alright. Entomology, ornithology. Hey. Chain combos, need that. First aid, fury boost. Oh my gosh, I have no money. Can't even afford chain combo. Shit. Alright. That's fine. It's fine. We know where to get her that. So be it. So we know where the next story thing is, and we know where the side quest thing probably is. So thinking. End's right there. It's a weird icon. Okay. I thought I used it a lot. Where is it? I don't know. Okay, we're going to save. Boom, save. Okay. We'll do a little side question, I guess. It's fine. That's fine. I don't think we're gonna get a lot of story progress today, but you know what? That's okay. Anyway, how you doing, Spritzy? You're out. Okay. Hi, come here. They're existent. Fair enough.
Just keep your cool.
You want some of this? Alright. We'll try this new move. Wow! Just shot my fingers. Yeah, I gotta do the Christmas stuff too. That's the other reason there probably won't be a ton of progress tonight. I've barely eaten. Not for lack of food, my appetite's been weak. Apparently that's also a sign of the burnout. I didn't want to do this yet. Damn it. I got too close to the tent.
Well, here we are. Time to find out about these bunnies.
Oh, you weren't here for the bunnies.
Yeah, she said ride, so I assume they must be pretty big.
You've seen one of them.
I know. Bunnies. They're fluffy and round and yummy.
Seriously, we need to feed her. Look how skinny she is, too.
Wait, you mean like that pink thing we saw in the mountains?
Yes.
Yep, that was a bunny.
Wow. I think that guy's dead. Okay. So, Bunny escaped, or whatever. No. All the way down here. It's a fun looking trail. Oh, good. You know what I'm thinking? I'm feeling thirsty. I had one bite of food and it's stuck in my throat. This is my life right now. Just straight misery, man. Okay. I love the sand. I know this is probably just like straight up a photo of sand. It's very pretty. I love sand. I want to go to the coast. I haven't been to the coast in like 2 years. I missed the coast. It's nice over there. Wait, what was that? There's something here. Come on. That's a thing? Oh, this just unlocked a whole concern in my life. Hidden harvesting point? Hidden harvesting point. You're... Oh. Oh no. I wonder if there's something that helps me find those later. Oh. Oh, Lord. Okay. Oh, spreadsheet. No fucking idea. 100% this game requires at least 3 walkthrough playthroughs. You just won't otherwise. It is... At minimum, you have to beat it on every difficulty and they unlock sequentially. You have to get every character ending and you can only get them across 3 playthroughs or more. It's hard. You gotta get every one of these frickin' battle trophies that you unlock across multiple playthroughs. You have to find every chest. You have to do every delivery. 100%ing this was PS3 era where they're still figuring out RPG achievements. 100%ing this game is... I think I'd rather try the 100% Disgaea. It would take forever. With a walkthrough, it's like 80 hours or something, according to some people. I think that person's high. I don't know where they got that stat from on the site I found, but there's no freaking way, because one playthrough took me 100 hours on the PS3. Mind you, I play games like me. I'm slow and I look around and now I know that any tree could be a secret. So I'm losing my mind. Which note, I'm still not any better off in terms of ability to kill. I'll do this guy. Didn't work. Try to get behind him.
Just keep your
Also, we got different worse battle music now. But I love the get off me button. It's not on purpose. It's just funny. Ow. Hi, how you doing? Pow. Nice to see you. Let me scratch your nuts off. Pow. I figured out how to do it on purpose now. Oh, that's fun. That should not be as fun as it is. Oh, he's dead. Oh boy, I got his vile goop. Now, you've missed most of Edge's prolonged baby fits so far, Spritzy, so I hope you enjoy the VOD later, but, it's bad. Oh shit, that's an Axe-Beak. Okay. No, I can do this. I can fight the Axe-Beak. It's fine. Miracle's hungry, and this is just a big bird. He's silenced, but he's in frenzy. Oh, that works. I can be a distraction. That's fine. Edge does not presently give us any, literally any battle cries or anything. He is in big time sad sack mode. Just being the saddest of sags. So, mind that. He is proper pathetic right now. Like, yes, he did just blow up a planet, but at the same time, his reaction is, what if I just let everyone die, because if I do anything, it'll just fuck it all up and make it worse. No burn doggy. Clean. Atta girl, man. Ow. It's going okay. It's going better than the way in did. Play more cautiously. I'm paying more attention. Probably help if I got to this more than once a month. That would be extremely beneficial for progress at this point. See, the butterflies are like, I love the butterflies. I've lured to the butterflies, but they mean nothing. It's like, maybe they're the hidden points. No. That's just south as hell. Let's go south as hell. Here we go. Boing. Okay, so all the way over here is Jack. We can do this.
Please step back.
You found gold. That's how we didn't get Angel Lady. She is, if I recall correctly, just straight up a healer. I would find that very helpful at this point. Yeah, I can do a couple. Alright, yeah, let's hit the one across the room that Edge is busy with. You're right. That was funny. Look, Edge, I can get your way too. I'm sure it's fine. Okay. I'll get more of this, and there's the beach. We are looking for an amulet on the beach and a boy by the beach. I think I have a bet I know where the boy is. Assuming it's all on this beach anyway. But, like, you know, look at this. This is such a beach. Just like life. Now, knowing how RPGs work, we're probably looking for like a glimmer in the sand or the water or something, you know. Keep an eye out. This is where the game gets more side quest heavy and stuff too, because it is rote. Nailed it. I don't think there's enough particle effects there. Dead Kraid. Okay, because we do need XP, we do need practice. We are having a rough time, so. And I'm checking by the trees, paranoid like, because like, come on. I don't know if this thing will show up on the map or not, so I am very much looking. You catch my drift. Taking my sweet time. Trying to spot where this amulet may have washed up. Or it's just going to be like one of those RPG sparkles or something. Gold. Hey, we can stop back by the ship and see what we can craft, so it's good potential for our future there. Anything? Hello? Nothing on the map screaming, look at me. Wait. Ah, I see you! My trained JRPG stan eye immediately noticed the sparkly. Behold, the sparkly. Lesser Demon's Fetish. You know, I get the feeling that's not what I thought I was getting. Excuse me? What did I just get? That's really funny, actually. That's the developer's logo. Not what I'm looking for, though. Oh, that's like just buried somewhere in my nonsense, isn't it? Okay. Lesser Demon's Fetish. Small demon summoning magic circle drawn on it in dark paint curses an enemy and 90 HP damage to target and nearby enemies. That's not a lot of damage, but that is interesting. I don't entirely know what curse actually does on this. But okay. Not what I was looking for. But we do in fact know that there are sparklies on the beach, so, you know, counts. I hid from the bait.
Here we go.
These are pretty bad by default. Can you imagine if they had spikes and shit like that? Like, just, no. No, thank you. Let's see here. How the crab's like, no, we'll leave that bitch alone. She's crazy. I'm back in the open space, which doesn't bode well for my hunting. Out this, oh, there's another one. And also, here's a crab. This crab wants to fight. This crab's going to die. Thing is, you need your enemies to stay grouped for it to matter? They just don't. Alright, no, that's fine, Lim. I wasn't trying to do anything. Bad. That's bad, that's bad, that's bad. Nice. That's the first time I landed a back crit. Jesus Christ. Okay. Whatever.
I'm so glad everyone's safe.
Battle trophy. Every single character has 100 battle trophies. You do not have every character for the whole game. There's at least one that leaves. Basil. Okay. Gone. It's just gone. Cool, man. Wasn't you. Alright, so none of the people by the beach that I knew about were the person by the beach I was looking for, which implies there's going to be more beach later. There's the whale dolphin thing that I still think is just very cool. Oh, there's another sparkly. What's this one? Old pendant. Hey, that's probably the one. Found something that mattered.
Just keep your cool and we'll be fine.
Ooh, come get it. Motherfucker! Is he in rush? No, he's just mean. Harry, what are you doing? Harry, what are you doing? I pointed at the other guy. Alright. Miracle does what Miracle wants. This could have gone a lot worse, though. Alright. Go back to the ship. We can check out our crafting, see if that gets us anything nice now. A little scavenging of the area. I'm now, like, looking around for anything that might be, like, a weird random A button. Like, secrets? They're real? I'm gonna harvest this shit too, I guess. There's like no reason not to. You know?
Here we go.
I got a stick. Does that make you horny, baby? You're all the way in the back. There's another.
We can use
And this is the only place the shit parks on the whole planet. And it's a big planet. I'm just like, that's a choice. Alright, if you want to be that way, game. I still like that you can see where it's sitting. It's a nice touch. Alright, we can heal, we can do some crafting, we can scream at God, I don't know. There's always options in Happy Fun Time. And take a nap, Edge. I'm gonna try another bite of chicken and hope this one doesn't get stuck in my throat forever. Wee. Almost 10:30. An hour later than last time I looked. I feel like time is flying and I'm getting nowhere. How exciting. Mid-game Star Ocean. Chimkin. Right. Wrong. They got a bunch of stuff, so maybe.
Ooh, where'd you find that one? Nice.
Crystal Wand, you say?
You feeling frisky today? Fancy free? Me too.
I have an iron saber. And it's not great. I can make the Aquaman. I still not make the boob armor. I had one that needed. Am I crazy? I mean, that'd be nice. Crystal Wand. Hey, we can do that. There's the boob plate. I don't know who that's for, but I want to do it. Just look at it. Yeah. Do it.
Don't strain yourself too hard, huh? Ta-da! Your item is complete.
Like, they're so baked in. Doesn't matter if a dude wears it. They have the biggest titties in town. Look at those. There's just Scarlet up in here.
Figure it out soon. I don't have all day. Think you can handle that all by your lonesome? The deed is done. Use it in faith. Already know what you want to make?
Bucket? Worst case I can sell it for profit?
Excellent progress. No problems. Wanna make something?
So, does this tell me what any of these fucking do? No, I just get to try things and find my favorites. Okay. That's fine. Let's see what that does for us here. And we know Limel gets the new wand, right? Booster wand to Crystal Wand R1. Okay. Okay. Sure, just a tiny 66% increase to her offense. No big deal. Not even worth commenting on. Woo! Plus it shoots frickin' lasers. Okay. No, yeah. No, sure. Lizard Guard for keeps... Hey, I'm kind of glad I made the trip back to the ship. Wow. Oh my god. Can anyone else wear that? Miracle, the melee player. Can I make a second one? I might make a second one. We're making a second one if I have the stuff at all. Oh my gosh. Yes. Excuse me. Welch. Hi. I know, you just left. Not that one. What was that? Artistry?
What you want?
No. Lizard Guard. Oh, yes. Yes, please. Holy crap, that's a huge boost. We're getting our butts handed to us. That's two of my people just getting 100 defense. No big deal.
Wanna make something?
That's more than 100. Look at that. Oh, 130 freaking double. I'm 50% bonus. Oh. That's impressive for her, but still. Like, holy shit. Never mind. Never mind. It's great for her. Oh, we're gonna go save. After I have a vending machine, I can restock my berries and stuff. Oh. May as well. Because I turned a bunch of this stuff in. Yeah. 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 Oh, yeah. Hi, Lim. Oh, we are saving the shit out of that. Oh. No, anyone else slightly turned on right now? Oh. Lord. Okay. Oh. Miracle. I gotta check something. Edge, what's your defense? 321. Hey, Miracle, what's your defense? 364. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh. Oh, look, and the grass came back for harvesting, which is good because I think I needed oak for somebody. And I get party SP for that, and party SP makes me happy.
We can use this.
Alright. Alright, we've got some stat upgrades. We're going to start picking some fights, because we need to get stronger. And then we need to figure out what we need to do about bunnies. Before I do something about bunnies, I need to stop and get books. Which is the other reason we're out here, because money for books. So, cool. Cool. What was the point of this? Oh, right, this is where the view is. I do like this view, though. I just feel like I would have... This is a primo spot to introduce the concept of, like, hidden harvest points. Unless fishing's one, and I just don't have it yet. I don't think it is, though. Look at that. Look at that Xenoblade-ass view. That's such a good view. Oh! Alright. Actually, that's pretty nice, too. Look at that. Look at that little... Oh, lakes. I love water. The otter loves water. You may be shocked. I don't want to fight the bees. The bees are just annoying. You know what? Fuck it. We're by the ship. If anything goes wrong, I can go. Let's fight the bees. Let's do it. Let's ram me up. Or, ooh, wait. I just remembered. Okay. I was gonna try to do a thing. Learn chain combo entry during blind sights. That's good. It's a good thing to finally have. Miracle's getting somewhere. Alright, that's where I came from. I have a great sense of direction. Are you jealous of my sense of direction? You should be, because it's so good. Alright, we are now picking fights for fun. Not Mary. Limmel. I want to see this work. Oh, yeah, okay. I now shoot lasers. And her short range is still this Twirl of Doom, so. Limmel's stepping up. I feel like we should give her, like, real armor at some point. I think both girls can use real armor. How come the children are, like, barely glow, relatively speaking? She looks younger than the rest of us. I don't know. Maybe Mary's 2,000 years old. I have no fucking... I thought I saw a new sparkling. They can respawn, I'm assuming. Oh, the wood floats. That's cool. It seems to do that regardless of the level of the water. In fact, the water seems pretty static, and the wood is, in fact, just helping sell the illusion that it does anything at all. But you know what? It works. Hi. I will keep studying. Pew! Pew! Hi, can we... Thanks. I love her little roll. I do like that. She's weird, but... she makes me smile, and that's what's important. Alright. So yeah, stuff along the beach is just like random harvesting. Stuff just washes up. Cool. So since we know the dude's not there, we can just take the director out, I guess. We'll go back to Mary, though. Limel's fun, but Mary's my fave. If I start hunting for trophies, which is a possibility. It's part of why I made the file specifically for pre-Earth flashback. I'm sorry? Did you get bored of me? Oh, you're dead. Okay. Sucks to be you, man. Oh. That's cool. Use her a lot.
We can use this.
Mon Oak. The only thing I got. Sure. Whatever. That's what I wanted. I'll take it. Rating? Hello. Bonesasaurus PSN. I wonder what console they play. It's a mystery. Hello. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Choices. I'm gonna go this way. I don't want to fight Axbeaks because they're mean to me. They're so mean to me.
Please step back.
I guess it would be a good test of my my armor upgrade, wouldn't it? Hello? Ah. There's a that. Hey, it's Ice Girl. That's cute. I do like the shiny fur. It seems ridiculous, but it's also like, you know, pleasant. It's pretty. I'm a fan of the metallic gloss fur. What you doing, Mary? No. I don't know what you were about to do, but no. Oh, Lizzie's back. Hi, Lizzie. I thought you were gone. I thought you were gone for the night. Okay. So... Yo, dancing skeletons is fun, too. Yeah, entertain the raiders with dancing. This is the secret. Nothing I do matters. Is there a spider in the tree? Am I crazy? No, it's like a cocoon. It's just a hanging cocoon. Huh. We've been here the whole time. I get it. I get it. I'm smart. What's up is we're in the part of Star Ocean where Edge is a whiny boy, and I keep being distracted by little things like, hey, look, there's a cocoon in the tree. I've been practicing my 3D modeling and art, you see. I'm gonna hit all of you, right in the butt, scratching your butt just like a real cat. You like that? You want me to do it again? Oh, you want me to scratch your face? Well, not my choice, but you know, it's your face. Mary, 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 Mary. I saw that earlier, thought it was a spider or something. So seeing that, is my mouse visible? Get rid of that. What's that doing there? No one likes that. Oh yeah, it's just the marker for crossing new area. Alright, we're back to where the bandits are. Now they are bandits, so I'm hoping that if I beat them in the submission, I get a bunch of money. Because Mary has no skills, and I want books. Here you are. And also, if she interrupts them trying to run away, apparently that's battle trophies, so... Don't worry, I'll just keep kicking them in the face. No running. I wish she'd close that gap before she does that, but I guess that's why she's not the default compared to Edge. She's a little bit more do things on purpose than he is. Okay. Ooh. Kind of the tri-emblem. I should be selling those. Maybe they're worth something. Oh, now here's the test. Here's the test. Last tree I fought kicked my butt, right? I gotta be able to handle the mobs, right? Before we move forward. Oh, Big D's into Zen Big Docs. Oh yeah, no, that's not gonna work. We're gonna do a level. Okay. With this, we do want to... Oh, that's not good. We don't want that. We don't want that. We don't want that. They are in rage. Get them, puppy. I will keep summoning the dog until morale improves. Now here's my question. They added the document tabs or whatever, right? Can you make a just second tab and that counts as a second document, or do you have to do a second document? I have not hit that limit yet. Hound grenade, you say?
Isn't it wonderful when effort is rewarded?
Yeah, it is. Okay, so that's my curiosity. Like, can you just make the second document within the first one, basically, with that new thing they added? I know it's. I haven't had the excuse to test it yet. But if that works, then at least your shit's together. I don't know how that exports, though, either. So that's like a whole section of Google I have not touched. Yo, I have lead HP. It's 2,000, and everyone thinks I'm super cool. I have lead HP. You missed. You're dead. Edge. Edge, I want to hit the puppy. I'm the cat. This boy is so rude to me. He keeps stealing my glory, what with his main character shit and all. I don't want to find another... Is that just a cicada or something? Yeah, you are. Come here. Come here. Come here, knife boy. Let's show you my special skill. You have a knife? I have feet. I missed. Edge. Edge. I don't have chain combos on Miracle yet, and I would really like that. Let me do that one. That was a new one. So I gotta get... I hit the button when I'm far away and then she does it? No. I had it all figured out. It's like right after input attack, she does the kick, but she doesn't consistently do the kick. I'm trying to figure out what makes her do the kick. You could call this combat depth. You could also call it frustrating. Really a matter of perspective. Fruit in the tree. Are they JPEGs? No, they're round. They are in fact lightly modeled, and they look kind of like pomegranates, albeit weird pasty ones. What? That's a man. That is a man. He's a man and he's on me. Learn how to do plants too. Learn what's an acceptable amount of polygons for a plant. Do you think that's all separate leaves, or do you think they just made... I don't know. No, that's the sort of stuff. That's the sort of stuff I think about. Tricks. Trying to learn the tricks. Like this thing, it's very pretty. I don't think it's that complicated. I just think it's pretty. I am stuck on a fern. I kill this kobold. Hello. That made it happen. Mad? Man, too bad you didn't do anything about it. Go up. Nope. Missed again. I shouldn't have done that there. He's rushing. That's bad. Well, you know what? Fuck it. It worked. I got away with it.
Wonderful. I'm so glad everyone's safe.
Alright. We're getting there. This does not seem as impossible as it did when we started, so good progress has been made in terms of just preparedness and paying attention. Not rushing into every fight, mashing the attack button turns out to make a bit of a difference.
Here we go.
Dendrobium. Dendrobium. Hello. You're thieves, which makes me think you have lots of money, but I keep afraid to actually look how much money you might give me.
We were too careless.
Alright, Grumpy, Doc, all y'all. No, no, no. Oh. Uh-oh. That's not good. Oh, did you just try to steal from me? I saw that little grabby hand. No. No, no, no. Yo, you can do that? I forgot. Okay. Come here. Come here. Come here. Yeah, you're in rush. You're being a naughty little bitch. Please don't break my bonus board. It's very small. No escape. There's another one off screen. Alright. You can stop with the animation locking. Okay, you go bye-bye. Yeah, who are you chasing? Why are you chasing the little girl? What is with you guys and the little girl? Oh! That's Mare. That's Linda. I did everything wrong there. Okay. Okay. No, it's cool. I feel great about that. I feel great about everything that just transpired. Crap. Alright, almost back to town. Though. We'll be fine. It's fine. Oh. Alright, I should check that. Alright, he's got the silver bangle. We got the tri-emblem. We got a lot. That's not good. Is it? What is it, just +2 to friggin' everything? No. Well, it beats nothing, because you'd be like, oh, full steps, they need that for something. An improvement for her. What do full snaps actually do? Makes you dumber. Oh, but you get more money. Interesting. No, I can't see her getting a benefit from it. I can... no. Hard no. In kinda. Okay. Sure. Sense of direction says no, but I can do it myself with the power of the map button. You too could be sort of okay at going a ways. Avoiding the bees. I'm dummy sick. Okay. Hotel, please. Let me in. Let me in! Alright. Hey, Kathy. Give me a nappy poo. I just came back with like another 9 grand or something. More than. I left with like 2, so I'm good with this. This we can work with. Now, where do I check? Cannot go back there right now. Alright, that's all Woodley. Found this for the guy. Lots of stuff for Woodley. I don't have Woodley right now. Okay. Oak. Tools are us shop here. Okay, so tool shop here. I have something for that. Which shop is the tool shop? Well, I don't know. I don't actually know. Could be this one. Could be any of them. Learn a bunch. What are you? I think that said Tool R Us. Liver? Oak. Done. There's a bit more money. Boom, boom. Doing good. Okay. Excellent. Sorry. She's hot. She's toasty. Okay, bookshop was over here. Tucked into the corner is the lovely bookstore. Okay. We got the store. I don't know where your brother is. I haven't found it yet. So, you can learn that. That makes sense. The cat gets more drops from birds. Chain combo is absolutely required. Mutual aid. We got an extra chain combo for the future. Awesome. That's good to know. I am happy that that works. Hold on. All right. Where was I? Illusion doesn't help anyone right now. I'll escape from battles much anyway. Taunt. I don't do it often, but that could be useful. I don't really use him, so whatever. Okay. So now Mary can actually have some stuff going on. All right. Mary. What are we doing with you? Ornithology, chain combo. I mean, we want that, and we want... Two stems from the higher skill levels, 5 increases. Always active. Let's get that to at least 5. That helps the party. Dump there. Yes. What am I doing spending her SP on that? Acrobatic Vault. It's a very fun move. There. That makes up for that. Fact. Boom, boom. There you go. First aid is fine by default. I'll give her 1. Taunt. Okay. That should be good. That should be good for now. Is there any party-based skills? Increase Smithery and Anthropology. Like, yes. Cooking. Artistry. Parapsychology. Undead. Gotcha. Engineering. We want the crafting stuff up as high as we can get it. You know what I mean? So. For sake of argument, Flimmel. You have lots of fun things. You use silence a lot. You use silence a lot. Okay, and we have that. It's a little something. Helping her out. Sure. That's actually quite helpful. Mind Flare. Mind Freak. Trying to focus on people I've actually been using for now, because this is probably not the most thrilling thing in the world. We got Crimson Squall. Okay. Rapid Fire. Fire charged arrow that erupts into a torrent of rapid fire bolts. Higher levels, more bolts. I do like more bolts. Okay. Let's get your chains up. Sure. Okay, so Edge. Our edgy, whiny little boy. What we got? Sure, you squishy bitch. Okay, prevents you from being thrown off balance when taking damage. Oh, okay. That's kind of nice for just random grinding, isn't it? First aid, auto heal. Boy, I don't even know what he's actively using right now. He uses these. There you go, Edge. Your basics are set. Alright, is there anyone else I'm actively using right now? Not really. Okay. So now we have some room for improvement. And he has enough CP that we can actually do this. Aura Spark, Aura Spark. I'm just double boot. There you go. Double down on Aura Spark. Have a nice day. Bolt shoots people into the air. They would land. I could, in theory, follow up with Comet Impact if I was feeling evil. I could try that. I think that makes more sense. Battle skills, first aid is a good one. Okay, you're set for now. Learning things. Seraphic Thunder is the Sonic Thorn, I think, following Crimson Squall. That makes sense. Okay, Limel, you're pretty much set till I improve some things. And you are... yeah, you're all... okay, cool. Should be something. I've upgraded my cat, which is frankly what's important. Gotta have a good cat, right? Like, if you don't have a good cat, you're not me. Alright, let's actually save all that crap, because who wants to do that again? Jaunty Town Tomb. Just different. If you think about it, every town we've been to has been some sort of shithole, hasn't it? Like, abandoned desert gas station. Ooh. Frozen nightmare where everyone's just trying to survive. Ooh. Happy, jaunty stone. It looks like a ruin, but everyone here is pretty chill and happy, actually. Yeah. Let's hop over here. Of course, there's a bee. Don't like the bee, but the bee is babysitting what I want, so I might not go with it. I got it. Gimme. And then run like the dickens from the bee. Ah, screw you, bee. You want your cat to emit Wi-Fi. Well, I'm not sure if there's a way to do that one. I'm sorry. Let's do like a Bionic Man situation. That could work. You know, we can fix it. We can improve it. I don't remember the quote. I haven't heard it in years. That makes me kind of sad. Now this was cheeky. I don't know if anyone saw that. This was hidden, which means there are hidden harvest points. That is evil. Said this dude could be looking at the ocean somewhere. Now there's so much ocean. Truly, he could just be wherever. There's all that over there. We haven't even been over there yet. Who knows? That's a bee. Let's talk to the old man and the fly on his face. Here we go. Let's actually advance something. Old man. Thought she was gonna slap him.
Excuse me? Do you think you could tell us about bunnies?
Me to everyone I meet.
Korag no Sadra Naloma.
Good talk.
I have no idea what he's saying, Kate.
Hurrah,
Can you make it
Dulcimod.
out? If this is your home planet, it's possible that...
No, I can't understand a word.
My Morphous translator is of no use either. This language structure must be quite ancient indeed.
I guess we're stuck.
Visitors? Oh, it's you people.
You're that girl from...
Bunny girl.
Yes, you all wear such unusual clothes. I remember you well.
You stick out like sore thumbs. You'd think you'd have alternative outfits or something to blend in. Been in a town and everything. Oh, man. Sorry.
I'm
I'm sorry. My grandfather can only speak the ancient tongue. But I can translate, so feel free to ask anything you like.
Well, we're trying to get to the Purgatorium. Someone we met in town told us we had to ride on a bunny to get there.
Nonale da has bosla.
Valbani. Astra da Bosla.
It's true. The only way to cross the desert of quicksands is astride a bunny.
As
So can we
is
have
logical.
one? I won't eat it.
Eat it? Of course you won't eat it.
Good approach, Miracle.
I'm sorry, but I can't let you have our bunny.
We only have the
Why
one.
not?
We consider him to be an important member of the family. He's been with us since he was a baby, after all. You can't just go handing your family over to strangers, can you?
Of course not. I hope you can forgive us for making such a flippant request.
You're a serious one, aren't you? Don't worry. My grandfather isn't angry.
Everyone's
and neither
eyes are
am I.
huge in this thing.
I'm glad.
But what are we supposed
And the
to
next
do
one. It's kind of like the
now?
series art style now. It's weird.
How about trying to capture a field bunny?
As one does.
Field bunny?
Wild bunnies that live in the forests near here. If you can catch one, you'll have your very own mount.
Is that even possible?
Yes, of course it is. Even mine was a field bunny once, you know. Here, let me show you.
I was really hoping nothing would happen. And that's what it is.
Everyone, this is my bunny. Usually I let him run free in the wild. I only call him when he's needed.
Big fluffy
He's
bunny.
the first bunny I caught as a child, and he's still a very important friend to me.
Big fluffy bunny.
All right,
Hey.
now run along and play for a while.
Is this like the summoning symbology Lim uses?
Not quite, Miss Raimi. This is somewhat different.
Did you just hear a voice?
Well, you see, Raimi, summoning is actually a sort of contract, so to speak.
Nailing it,
Contract?
Bacchus.
Only a few particular beings from other worlds can become subject to those contracts. Limmel can only summon one specific creature, right?
You're all really bad at acting like
now
you're
that
not
you mention
aliens.
it is always Cerberus.
The power she just used isn't summoning. It's more like transference. She can freely move any object she wants to another location. Take warp travel. By compressing space, you can reduce the time it takes to travel a certain distance. But as that distance grows, so does the time it takes to cover it.
Oh my
You can't
god.
start talking about warp or...
But that is not how transference works. Transference
Sorry, I'm
breaks down
nerding
the
out.
actual data
Autism?
of a physical object, then reconstructs it at any desired location. In other
Aye.
words, the transfer of matter can be accomplished in the blink of an eye.
That would
nearly
actually explain a lot
instantaneously.
about him, wouldn't it?
Even we Eldarians haven't managed to achieve that. However, it's much more difficult
Yeah,
coordinating
just like
transfers
it's
for small
useless.
objects than it is for more massive ones. Considering all that, achieving transference with just a single symbol is astonishing. That's really the only way I can put it.
I've never seen anyone get so excited about this technique before.
You want to get married?
Can all of you use this ability?
The technique has been passed down through the ages among our tribe, and it's our duty to continue to do so.
Is there a particular reason for that?
Bunnies.
I'm afraid nobody really knows.
We just love
Nobody?
bunnies.
No. All I can say is that our people have always been called the Openers, and that this technique has been with us for generations.
We hate the
Openers,
closers.
You say?
Nobody remembers why we bear the name. Not even my grandfather and the other elders.
He's the youngest.
What's this?
Reins for riding a bunny. As long as you have these, you shouldn't have any problem taming one.
Can we really accept something so precious from you?
I have a
Of
crate
course.
full of them.
All we have to do is make another.
This will be a huge help. Thank you so much.
So, with regards to the transfer technique,
I'm sorry. I'm afraid we can't teach it to outsiders. But if you were to join our tribe...
You gonna marry him, Faze? You
I'll
gonna marry
certainly
him?
give the matter consideration.
then, we'll be going now. Thank you so much for all your help.
Not a necessary transition.
Bye-bye!
Wait a moment, would you?
Yes?
Here's my phone number. I was joking, but... Oh, okay.
This is one of the cloaks the members of your tribe wear.
As long as you have it on, the field bunny shouldn't be as wary of you. I think this particular cloak would fit you best. I wish there were enough for all of you, but right now this is the only one we have.
Are you certain? Not just the reins, but this cloak as well.
We receive the benefit of much goodwill in our travels. The least we can do is repay those favors, don't you think?
That's a splendid way of thinking. It would be disrespectful to refuse such an offer.
See, they could have done this. They didn't have to give him a weird romantic tension with the little girl. Oh, hey, actually...
Well, I can't say it's very flattering.
Like, this is already a better one. All right, yeah, you know, they could hit it up. That's fine. Kind of cute. Oh, but here it is.
What took so long, FaZe?
We banged.
Huh? What's that weird thing you're wearing?
Then she goes and burns down the
It was
house.
a gift. They were such a rustic and friendly people.
Yeah, and she insults him.
You look really bad in it, Kay.
Yep.
The girl told me the same thing.
I don't think it kind of works for him. We got bunny reins, y'all. What's up? I am needed for a few minutes. Everyone stretch. Be back as soon as I can. Oh. Alright, I'm back. Sorry. Baby needed me. What the heck did you post? Cheese? The fries? Is that cheese and fries? What is that? I can't see it. Mom's gone post cheese. It must be some kind of cheese. Okie dokie. Alright, we gotta go catch a bunny. It's even pointing us the right direction, so that seems... Search for bunnies. Yes, that was kind of the idea. Oh.
Alright, we're gonna catch one, Kay.
Big and meaty and round and yummy looking.
It's the most she's ever worn.
Abby.
So fast.
Switching to capture mode.
Can we please just feed her?
Wait.
Don't. No, it's cool, Edge. I got you.
Raimi? What's the matter, Raimi? Raimi!
Ray Ray, are you okay? Ray Ray?
Ray Ray, are you okay, Ray?
She's got like a terrible fever. What are we gonna do?
Raimi, don't tell me you've been sick all this time.
I'm allergic to bitching.
It's nothing serious.
You collapsed.
We need to get back to Tatroy. There should be a doctor there. Come on!
This town was right behind us. We didn't notice. Oh my god. Okay. Pull. That's like, jeez. Oh, that escalated immediately. Oh, okay.
That same dream again. Having it night after night certainly does take its toll.
Yeah, I bet. I have to imagine it would.
I wonder, is my neighbor having a nightmare too?
Raimi.
I'm so sorry.
Huh?
Please, forgive me. It's my fault. I'm sorry.
Your fault? What's your fault?
Sorry.
What? Raimi, what are you saying? You don't have anything to apologize
Opens her
for.
eyes like, this is what you sound like, bitch.
Please, don't look at me. Don't look at me like that.
Raimi, hey! Please, Edge, try and take it easy. Raimi isn't apologizing to us.
I imagine she's apologizing to something in her dream. Judging by her condition, she must be having a terrible nightmare.
Yeah, no shit.
Hang in there, Raimi. We're here with you, okay?
Ray Ray.
Something's wrong with her.
I was eating my leftover chicken. I kind of low-key always hungry and then never hungry.
So hard.
What?
Wait, don't tell me.
You're just hiding that?
Is it Boculus?
That sounds a lot like my name.
I don't want Ray Ray to end up like Grandpa, Kay.
No, this isn't Boculus. This disease is endemic to Roke.
Endemic to Roke?
It is called stone sickness, and you can see why.
Wasn't the other one called
Spreads
stone
from the
sickness too?
extremities to the internal organs, eventually causing death.
How do you know so much about this?
I went through quite a lot in my younger days. But there is no cause for concern. Stone sickness has a...
Yes, a remedy. She'll be just fine if we give her some.
Indeed. Stone sickness was at one time an incurable disease, but a treatment does exist now.
Let's go to Astral Castle via the canal barge. I'm sure we'll be able to find the remedy there.
I just let myself in. Don't worry about it.
Really? Oh, thank goodness. Huh?
Sari?
What are you doing here?
I'm staying in the next room over, you see. I wondered what was going on, so I came here, and what a wonderful reunion.
I have 2 brain cells. No socks.
It's already that bad?
Oh dear, the symptoms are quite
That is pretty hard to animate, though, isn't it? Like removing something like that?
Can we cure her?
Kind of impressive, actually.
Yes. It's just as I said before. If you have the remedy, she'll get better in no time. I'm glad. I think she must be exhausted, in both mind and body. She's so cute, but she pushes herself too far, doesn't she?
Exhaustion? Raimi.
I'm sorry I'm such a bitch. It's my fault. Everything's my fault. Ooh!
It's my fault yet again.
There he goes!
If only I had kept myself together, Raimi wouldn't have.
So fall apart some
If
more.
you've time to waste on regret, use it to act instead.
Huh?
That's what the second brain
The
cell
only
said.
person that regret benefits is yourself. But if you act, others can benefit from your actions.
Wild as I think she's in more than one game.
Doesn't that sound good? I borrowed the saying from someone I respect.
My first brain cell.
Phase? If you feel responsible for what happened to Raimi, I believe now is the time to make a decision. Let's go then. To Astral Castle. Let's bring back the remedy we need to cure Raimi.
You don't sound so enthused. Because I want noms. I still have some noms. What do you want, baby? What are you craving? It's 11 o'clock at night. What's even still there that you could get? You can still get pizza this late? You can if you want, I guess. Oh, that's what this room existed for. Someone's in there with the doors locked. I think that was... Was that literally our person? Kinda, yeah. I mean, it's still Squaresoft. It's a different dev, but it's still them. Some very similar animation rig. I can see it. He's more weirdly porous, though. Like, look at his arms. Anyway. Alright. See, I thought this lady joined us as a person. Maybe it's just like, nah. Alright, so let's do tactics. What do we... Bacchus already took the spot. Well, that's exactly what I wanted, so fine. I just wanted ranged, so that works out well for me. I bought the extra chain combo in case what's-her-name does... Sarah does... Yeah, his pores are hungry. Everyone in this game is so hungry. See, I don't see him up close. I don't know, whatever. I'm crazy. It's fine. Wait. So I'm not going this way, I'm going the other way? Is it the cave that was cut off then? No? I mean, it's not the Colosseum, that's not a castle. Do I need the boat? Am I using the boat? Is it boat time? Better be a free boat, because they didn't let me out of town. City of Astral, from town to town. Free just this once, because you're interested. The outward ripples are also impressive. I just don't know how they're doing it. Unless it's real-time normal
Has
map
Mimi's condition changed at all?
stuff.
She's sleeping soundly in the cabin. Limmel and Bacchus are watching over
You
her.
brought her with
They
us?
traded places with us.
Her condition is stable, and, well, I can't say much for Limmel, but Raimi will be safe with Bacchus caring for her.
I see. Well, that's good to hear.
We're really indebted to you, Miss Durand. If you hadn't spoke up about the remedy, then... And especially after I was so awful to you the other day.
You gonna start whining some more?
It doesn't bother me at all. And please, just call me Sarah, okay?
That's my name!
Thank you, Sarah.
You're welcome, bitch!
Hey, Sarah. Are there
What?
a lot of other chickens out there like you?
Not a chicken. Pom-poms.
I'm not a chicken. I'm Featherfolk.
What?
They have good jiggle on priority. Pom-poms wiggle.
What's that? Is that the name of your race?
That's right.
We spent all day coming up with
Sometimes
it.
people refer to us as the Sacred Wings.
We did not come up with that one.
All my kin flit about the skies of our enclave with ease, but me, I can't fly at all. For me, these things are just a decoration. I don't deserve the name Sacred Wings.
That's a weird thing to laugh about.
Are all the Featherfolk like this?
Good question.
I'm sorry, did they make Eric Miracle's pupils tinier just to make her look extra
We
crazy?
Featherfolk have had amicable relations with the king for many generations. When we arrive at Astral Castle, I'll entreat the king. He's very kind, so I'm sure he'll let us have the remedy right away.
If there's why is it only
Does
the
he
king if
control
it's a whole
access to
disease?
medicine?
Yes. In the past, the remedy was traded for very high prices. All the poor turned to stone, and the continent was facing certain ruin. But that crisis served as a lesson. Now the king manages all of the antidote and sells it cheaply to anyone who needs it.
Yeah, he's still selling it.
Wow, he sure sounds like a nice king.
So. Yeah, sure. He hoards
He's
it.
a wonderful king. I'm
Okay.
sure you'll all like him. Look up ahead. That's his castle there.
It has more than 2 polygons. And that's all you get.
Thank God. Finally, Raimi will be okay. I was so afraid I'd made another terrible mistake.
Push him overboard.
Edge, you're all going to the Purgatorium, right?
That was our plan.
Well, if you are, would you mind stopping over in Trop for a while?
That's a name.
Trop?
Stop, drop, and roll.
Town on the west coast of this continent. In fact, I was on my way to Trop to meet a certain person when I ran into all of you. We've been out of contact for so long, and there's something I must discuss with her.
And who might that be?
Her name is Elena Ference.
What did you say? Elena Ferensmew? Are you talking about the great sage, the holy maiden, Lady Elena?
Oh, you know something.
Huh? Great Sage?
When I was really, really young, I read about her in a picture book, Elena and the Feline Gourmand.
Of course, it's about food.
What kind of book is that?
In the story, the holy maiden Elena brings a gluttonous cat with her and goes around saving people in trouble with her incredible powers. Lady Elena was beautiful and kind and wise.
And had lots of food.
Pure. And she devoted her life to helping people, helping the world.
What do you think?
Honestly, I can't say. It could be nothing more than a picture book. It may have nothing to do with a real person.
I'll bite you!
It does! Lady Elena really existed. She led a whole bunch of her followers to, save the world.
This is sounding more and more dubious.
In any event, this Lady Elena still seems to be alive.
Miss Elena is a seer with true powers of divination. She's helped so many people who lost their way by showing them the guideposts they needed to get back on track.
People who lost their way.
Like me, an idiot.
How about you try speaking with her too, Edge? You might find yourself feeling a bit better.
That would be perfect. The Holy Maiden Lady Elena can see the future. It said so in my picture book. Meow, 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 meow.
Putting that aside for the moment, Sarah is extending us her kindness, and I believe we should take it to heart. Only after Raimi has recovered, of course.
Yeah, you're right. Guideposts.
Welcome to town. My boat made 1 puff of smoke. Only 1. I could only afford 1. Well, 2! 2! It's the future. I can afford 2 puffs of smoke in this economy. Meanwhile, in window. Oh, okay.
We'll be back as soon as we have the remedy, Raimi.
You sure keep carrying me around a lot.
Thank you. But don't push yourself, okay?
You're turning to stone. Shut up.
You never stop, do you?
Really? I'm fine. After all, something like this can't kill me.
Face turns
Kill
gray.
you? Don't say things like that.
I'm sorry.
Raimi.
This is strange.
What is strange, Miss Sarah?
I'm curious about the rate of advance of the stone sickness. Her symptoms began with almost no incubation period, and now the rate of advance is unusually slow.
Yes, stone sickness usually has a long incubation period, and once symptoms show, it advances quickly.
And yet you have to travel different continents
I
to...
suppose it doesn't
Okay.
matter as long as she's cured.
Then I'd have preferred you not mention it at all.
Now. Off to the king's castle. Let's go!
Let's go!
Let's go.
Oh boy, there's 3 of them. I'm in a funny hotel. Oh my god. Okay, there we go. Oh. Hey, how about someone else say I'm sorry? We'll have a whole party of I'm sorry, a sorry party. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Y'all accomplishing. I'm sorry. Oh, I can't gather from plants if she's gone. That's the real tragedy. These rooms are all empty and depressing and have... Oh, okay. Stop being caught. I do wonder if he's got a square collision box. I can't lie. Because he gets hung up on like every little corner really easy. Edge gets caught on shit a lot. Not today. Okay, so... Man. I can open this door and go in here. It's in here. Jack all? Okay. How exciting. It goes back upstairs. Over there is a whole stinking... Jeez. It's a big fancy hotel, and it's about as occupied as the average hotel in Oregon. Okay. This place is nice. There's no one here. Oh, we are like smack in the middle of town. Alright, there's not much point to doing a lot here, right? Way. What's when you saying woo 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 and the other crying? Seems rude. We got orders though. Poison hemlock, always good. Dendrobium. Curry rice, I can cook that. Nectar. Okay. Pumpkin extract, have it. Sweet fruit. Lots of ingredients. Lots of ingredients. Alright, cool. I like this girl. I saw her and it unlocked a core memory. I just like this girl. Look at her go. Just in battle stance all the time. What she's selling, who knows? She just does that. That's just how she hangs out. The happy Skip Gross. Yeah. Name the store after the fact. She's just hanging. She's just doing that. We're pretty good. I'll get a blueberry. Boing, 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 boing. Just vibing. Also, fuzzy polish. The towel must have been as fuzzy as I remember, because everything else is fucking fuzzy. Why's everything so fuzzy? I need to learn how to do fuzzy. This is very important to me as a person. No, it doesn't match my art style in any way, shape, or form, or anything I make, but, like, it feels like a skill I should have as a person. Why can't I... There it goes. Swept hilt. Oh, be specific. There's a person way down there for some reason? Guard. Wow, yep. Look at me, I'm a guard! Ah! I'm definitely not 3 cats in a trench coat. That would be weird. That would be strange. Okay, so we did all that, We're going over here. We'll scout. Yeah, you keep dancing. You rule. You know what you're about. Slow old lady. Dressed nice. Heavily made up lady. Okay. Why can't they do anything about this horrible heat wave we've been having? Like what, Grandma? What do you want them to start a nuclear winter? What are you expecting? It's so hot. Why is it so hot? The king should fix the hot. Our king's nice. He's a nice king. Don't worry about it. So, okay, this is the rift I'm having. Right, he's such a good guy. He's such a good king. He controls all the medicine to keep it cheap. Okay, but you just said it advances quickly as soon as you know you have it. So, is it really practical to make people basically skip over half the continent? Am I missing something? Besides the ultimate hide-and-seek spot. I feel there's a bit of distance. It says there's nothing over here, but look how big it is. Why is it so big if there's nothing? You fill me with dreams and wants and secret longings. Oh. I fill you with depth of field blur. Oh my god. Okay. He stands a certain way, doesn't he? Does he even have a shadow? Does anyone? We do. They're there. It just doesn't show up extremely well on the ground. It's there. Wow. It's just subtle. Okay. Cybertruck, you're not wrong. Okay, I'm not doing it. I want to. I want to be thorough and scour, but I know there's nothing there. She has a portrait. That's how you know she's important. Door.
Welcome to my castle, Lady of the Sacred Wings. I trust the people of your enclave are well.
That is too many things haloing your
They're all
head.
flapping around happily.
Bitches.
That's Lady Sarah for you.
They seem more friendly with each other than I would have thought.
Yeah, I guess these Featherfolk people, or maybe even just Sarah herself, are pretty special.
So, Lady Sarah, I hear that your visit today is in regard to securing sickness remedy for these folk here?
Yes, indeed. These people are my friends.
Your
Please give it to them for only 2 million. Billion, fine.
My name is Edge Maverick, Your Majesty.
It's a normal name,
We
shut
have
up.
come to humbly beg Your Majesty's aid in securing the remedy for our friend who has fallen ill.
There's no need to be humble.
Be a
Stone
bitch, let's
sickness
go.
remedy is readily available to all.
The low, low price of
Begin
sucking it.
refinement of the medicine.
Yes, sir.
You have to make it fresh?
I'm afraid the refinement will take some time. Please, wait patiently, if you would.
It progresses quickly. We sell
you
it
very
cheaply.
much, Your
I
Majesty.
make it fresh.
Incidentally, good king.
You have to come here from across the
there's
country to...
something I'd like to ask you.
What?
And what might that be?
Has anything unusual happened here lately?
Unusual? Such as?
I don't know, your lips are gray. Is that normal?
Yes. Well, like the ancient archfiend rising and doing all kinds of awful things in secret or something?
That's awful.
Now I've heard it all.
Sarah certainly is most unpredictable.
Well,
You know I
I know
am.
I'd certainly prefer it if this archfiend kept all his awful deeds a secret.
Yeah. So, what's an archfiend?
It's a fiend, but
If
like
you don't
Archie.
know, Limo, then don't
Yeah,
chime
like-
in, all right?
Bleh.
Just as your friend has succumbed to the stone sickness, there have been signs of an impending epidemic.
We still have to make the medicine fresh,
Here
though.
in Astral, some have already begun to show symptoms. We will need to use far more of the remedy than in recent years.
That sounds like a problem.
What is worse, the seas are rough, and ships often cannot reach our shores. The raw materials needed for the remedy are beginning to dwindle.
If only we could fly.
There have been reports of a suspicious group appearing throughout the country.
Oh.
They
Edge and
dress
his
weird
friends,
and-
perhaps?
Huh? Is that how you think of us?
As it happens, Lady Sarah, the reports relate to that jest of yours from a moment ago.
Oh?
Asmodeus.
Ass mode?
A group has arisen which worships the archfiend of ages past. They call themselves the Church of Sidene.
Why not the Church
They've
of
been
Asmod?
causing
Okay.
unrest, proclaiming that only the archfiend's resurrection can save the world. They wear gray robes that conceal themselves from head to toe. But all they do is worship the archfiend. Strictly speaking, none of their actions are illegal.
The archfiend's resurrection.
Sarah?
I have a bad
Sari looks a little hale, okay?
Hale? You mean like Hardy?
That's pale.
I'm sorry, I did not mean to disturb you so. Please, relax until the remedy has been prepared. Someone
Don't
show
know
our
what that
guests
was in
to their
Japanese.
quarters.
Interesting translation situation. You know it was. It always is with something like that.
Craftsmanship. The historic symbolism is quite faithfully reproduced.
Huh?
Well, that's normal. Ah! What's wrong with his
What
eyes?
was that? Whoever it was, he seemed
What
to know
are
what he was
pupils?
doing.
Kills the king, takes her out, and you're fucked now. Have a nice day.
It's none of my business.
Come on, Edge. It is your business. Everything's your business, you nosy shit.
Edge, may we speak?
Huh? Sure.
Sarah is saying we should go see the king. She says the remedy for the sickness should be prepared by now.
You definitely should be getting punched by a guy who looks like he came here from Street Fighter. At least Miracle's finally getting fed. Maybe she'll stop trying to eat everybody and everything. Would be a plus. Hello. That's disappointing. Too bad you can't. You can't harvest anything, you blonde twat. Only girl knows how to harvest. Only girl! You're not girl! You're just Weenie was whiny boy. Wow, that is a big empty hallway. And I went the wrong way. I mean, there's the obvious open doorway. I was like, I thought it was the other way.
Hear me well, Laius. You must not fail in capturing this Black Eagle.
My lord.
What up, dude?
Ah, Lady Sarah, forgive me.
What's happening? There seems to be a bit of hurly-burly going on.
That's real words.
I regret to inform you that the castle was infiltrated by a marauder who made off with the sickness remedy.
What?
None of my business, says
no
Edge.
words
It keeps
to
being his
offer an
business.
apology.
Riri's not gonna get better without the medicine, Kay.
Is she gonna turn to stone?
Who is this marauder?
A flagrant bandit who goes by the name of Black Eagle. He's been plaguing my people for some time.
Black Eagle?
The man is quite skilled. He defeated our guardsmen single-handedly and made off with our store of the remedy and its raw materials.
Deplorable.
It was a small amount, but would have been enough to treat hundreds. Who knows how many will fall to the disease now?
Hundreds.
Your Majesty, may I ask something?
Of course, what is it?
Can you tell us what this marauder looks like?
I am told he's a man far more powerful than the average bandit. That, and... his tattoo. He is said to have a large black eagle tattooed on his back. The tattoo is where he gets his name.
In case you're stupid and couldn't figure that out.
Tattoo of a Black Eagle. Again. I've done it again. Damn it!
Oh, you should have done something. All you've done is nothing, and it keeps
Majesty,
backfiring.
I will apprehend this criminal.
It's my fucking fault.
I have absolutely no choice but to capture him. No choice!
If you will excuse me as well, Your Majesty?
Lady Sarah, who are those people?
Oh, she actually has
They're my
some
friends.
jiggle bone stuff too. I never noticed.
Kind.
A light really playing it up. Abrupt end of music. Fade out? No. No. Grr, my indecisiveness keeps getting me in trouble. Goo 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 goo. It's not your indecisiveness. You keep making a very straightforward decision of doing nothing. You just do jack and or shit. And you're like, well, how'd I mess up? Like, it's a mystery, Edge. Okay, well, he ran through the friggin' center of town, so I guess we'll start there. Hey, you're not walking. No, you're just busy being a dumb whiner. Okay. Woo, woo, woo! It's such a weird... I don't know what's going on there. Okay. Hello! Oh, that's a weapon shop, but it's not open. This makes me sad. Oh, you too. I have some issues with that, too. I keep missing the second line. I don't know what I'm doing. The whole, like, you know, peace is the only time people stop to understand each other. Is it? Or is peace an illusion of people just letting things fester? This is the America in me talking. Just like, is it even real? Or is it just y'all just bury it? Oh yeah, you guys do orders. Coal, I don't have it. Light gem, I do have it. Ash, I don't have it. Thunder charm. Alright. A lot of this. HP boost. That's a good one. It's an expensive one. Ooh. 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 Oh, they have lots of stuff here that I don't have. Oh. Why, what's up? I know pizza's coming. No amount of money. Oh, I can't get the critical hit. That'll be nice. Boo. Okay. Whatever, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. It is almost midnight, though, so I am looking for my end point. I will not lie. Actually, I mean, I guess there is a whole... Does it tell me what to do in here? No. Okay, well, whatever. We're looking for a thief, y'all. That seems like an okay spot to loot. That gives us a little cliffhanger, right? Got started late. I ran till almost midnight. She's got stuff coming I need to get. Okay. That works out. Let's call it. We'll call it. Yeah, almost 4 hours. That's probably reasonable. So, yeah. I know who's lingering still. Let's look. I found a way to look. I figured it out. Right up. Taco Munch. That is a good username. I like that one. Taco Munch. Alright. So, it says save load. Can I just... No. I have to be in the save point. Okay. Boogity boogity. Let's go over here. Hi. I'm on the see you next time screen. I meant to go to the space screen, but I'm half awake. Thank everyone for joining me. Thank you for the raid. That's the first time I've got raided. That was fun. I'm trying to think about the next few days and what I'm doing. Tomorrow is probably more commission work because my queue is full. On Friday, we'll see what I do. I might have to try the Phasma thing alone because my other hunter is at work on those days. Oh, bummeroony. Okay, stressful. Krampus solo. Yeah, Saturday, Friday, somewhere in there I'll do something fun. We'll see how I'm feeling. One of those I always end up taking off. And Sunday is animation work. I got lots to do. We'll figure it out. Probably a lot of pixel. Maybe a little here. We'll see. We'll see. Thank you for joining me. I think Sarah has earned her dinner. Hooray. I will see you all next time. I never switched over. I've been the wrong person the whole time. Boom. Ah. Also, I'm too small. Why did I get so small? I'm floating in the wrong spot. There we go. That's better. A little bit. Oh. Oh. Y'all. I've been off my game all night. Lark. Alright. Well, so it goes. I'll see y'all next time. Thank you for joining me. And have a lovely rest of your evening or day or whatever it is for you in your part of the world. See you next time. Bye.